And the SCC continues here as we move over to North America to continue. I was going to use the same word, but I hate using the same word twice in one sentence. To move on with our day here in the SCC. And we're going to be kicking things off here. Also, it's Goran Myth. And we're going to be kicking things off here with the Wardens taking on the Weavers. And I'm excited for this one just because, again, these teams both have had maybe not excellent. That might be too hype. For the Wardens,
bad phase
maybe
3 so
excellent,
far.
but yeah, not a great phase 3. But a year that has been improvement constantly, right? Always moving forward for them. Wardens, Weavers right now. Hounds and Storm a little later. And then tomorrow morning, you're going to get to watch the Sages and the Tanuki take each other on for what I am expecting to be a very fun set as well. The Sages have been catching my eye a lot over the last few weeks. But it's the Wardens, it's the Weavers. Those are the two that we're looking for. Both of them, as you had mentioned, not doing so hot as of right now, sitting at the bottom of the standings, both undefeated as they try to kind of find their way through here. And
only defeated.
Huh?
Only defeated.
Only defeated. Oh, yeah. What I said undefeated, didn't I? Only defeated. The opposite of the thing that I words. And you're at this point where, with specifically, like, you look over towards the Weavers and, like, this roster as a whole hasn't been crazy successful most of the year. I think they've made improvements, closer sets, but maybe not as surprising that things haven't started off as rough for them. When I look at the Wardens and you see the players that are on the Wardens, it's very shocking to me still to see them down there at 0-2.
Yeah, a bunch of goofy guys over there on the Wardens, I'd say. But at the end of the day, it's some world champion talent, some world champion MVP talent at that. Sino, Moswell, Relentless One, Gino, and Griff comprise this team. And it's a squad of guys that have got really strong competitor mentalities when they're at LAN. And I think that really is just it. Well, during the online phase, this is a squad of players that have been competing for so long that it's maybe a bit difficult for them to take it completely seriously. Whereas when they're at an event, when they're actually taking it seriously, this is one of the strongest teams in North America, which is why I was so surprised to see them down at 0-2. Because honestly, if I'm being completely candid, this is a team that is so talented that I would expect, even with a bit of having fun and messing around, they should be able to find a stray win here or there. I suppose it would be just this match, right? Or this set against another only defeated team where they could just catch a stray.
Now, last week, fall down 2-1 to the Sages. The other side, they're going to be going up against the Weavers. Last week, it was a 2-0 for the Storm over the Weavers. And then the week before that, it was the Hounds. So it hasn't necessarily been a very easy phase for the Weavers or Weavers fans out there. But you've got Chinfu, you've got Sops, you've got Diesel, Mando. I would argue those three. I think Big Slim Timmy Jim is a
say his name
rename.
again, please.
Big Slim Timmy Jim.
Okay, cool. Just making sure.
I can't remember who it was that renamed it, but I remember it's a rename, and that part stands true. A lot of guys that have been around the scene for a little while that have done really well, and then I'm kind of expecting at least a show from today. But with both of their sets being 2-0s, seeing the talent on the other side, I think that they have a lot to prove today.
I think so, but again, another team that has got a whole lot of mechanical talent on it, and a team that has got some minor league / SCC lifers. Mando Warriors feels like he's always been playing at this level of play. It feels like Sops has always been here. Chinfu a little bit newer to the scene. Big Slim Timmy Jim, assuming he has a name change. I suppose probably been here for a little while as well. So I have expectations of this team to perform, but this is a team that has been blanket statement SCC for a very long time.
Yeah, I'm, again, keeping my eyes on them to see how today will shake out for them. As we get into picks and bans here for game number 1, Wardens will be the first pick team. And Mifflin, we're starting things off interesting. There's a Sylvanas first ban that comes through here.
Well, you know why.
Enlighten me.
It's because Chinfu's rocking Sylvanas jungle
when I see this, you know what? I actually have blanked that from my memory because
How could you?
Now that you said it, I'm like replaying. I can see the highlights in my mind of this in the jungle.
I'm gonna tell you the highlight. I'm in your head. He blinked in, he hit his ult button, and then he pressed 1, and then 3 people die.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's something like that every single time.
It is. And look, man, if it's successful, it's successful. And sometimes you gotta, I guess you gotta do it. And then the Neath ban following that one. So the Wardens may be targeting things off from the get-go. The other side, Guan Yu, Yamoja, a lot more high-level and more meta-esque as we see the last one come through. It is that Daji, so very, very common in the jungle as of late. And not a pick anybody wants to deal with. Banned out entirely in the last set as well. With one more ban the Weavers have, what picks are going through your mind? Like, if you're looking at these bans, now with the Cabrakan there.
Cabrakan.
Where's your, well, I was going to say, what's going through your mind for, like, a first pick? What's top of the list to you?
Freya really is up there. It might be my previous bias, having watched that European SEC set and how well Freya performed there. I think she's been incredibly impressive. Otherwise, my eyes almost immediately go towards healers, thanks to the Fae Blessed Hoops. Naja, I would consider amongst those. Manicore Spike users, I think very, very strong as well. Otherwise, I would just like to see them develop their front lines. Generally, we see that as a common theme in the SPL and the SEC. In spite of metas, you kind of just want to get whoever's going to be making up the bulk of your dive very early on in the draft.
Well, speaking of dive, Camazotz gets locked in. Naja may be able to do a little bit of that as well, right, when it comes down to engagements. You mentioned the Sash and the Manticore Spike being very important. Ratatosker gets locked in alongside this, so Camazotz, no ambiguity this time around. Going over to the solo lane, Rats alongside it. And we've been seeing a lot more of this. I'm going to harken back to the last set we saw the Ratatosker in, which was that first one me and you were casting. And just say, I'm assuming that for this one, you would like to see more engage-oriented ults.
Just get proactive when you're playing Rat, right? Anybody who's got the global ultimate initiation style of play, Thanatos, Thor, Ratatasker, you kind of want to see them actually utilize that, whereas in the first set of the day, we didn't get to see a whole lot of it. In North America, it's pretty common that our junglers just get a little bit more aggressive a little bit earlier on. So I wouldn't be too shocked if we see a level 5 initiation from a Ratatasker. What I am shocked to see, though, is Khepri make it this far through the draft. Feels like he's been getting a lot of priority in both regions of the SEC recently. So that the fact that the Wardens can get Naja, Vulcan, and Khepri, which have all at times been top picks in of themselves, is a very scary prospect for the Weavers.
Especially considering, I mean, you look at Moswell, you look at Sino, and you think, okay, what kind of gods lock in so well for these two? And on that list, Naja has got to be incredibly high up, if not number one, usually for Sino. And
he's
and
the
Vulcan
Naja guy.
Has to be super high up. Maybe you'd think like Zeus and Apwash for Moswell first. Vulcan has to be in that list of 3, though, because it's
so long as the ultimate is a circle, I think of Moswell.
Yeah, and as long as they can't, like, they don't have a dash, they're not moving real fast, but they're going to deal a lot of damage, I think of Moswell. Yeah, he's going to nail that one. So it feels like a really good top 3 for the Wardens. King Arthur, Cupid, banned out by the Weavers, Amuz and Cobb, and now the Chernobog banned away by the Wardens. So where are you going? If you're looking at the duo lane, well, never mind. It gets answered for you. Ho Yi. Yeah, that's a great... And what makes you think Ho Yi locks in so well here?
The Weavers took it.
Yeah.
No, I think it brings a bit of decent team fight. It's one of those gods that can really play aggressively around that scepter. We had talked about it a little bit earlier. The duo lane meta seems to have developed, at least around these hunters, based off of who's got a strong fight in that 2v2 so that you can control the scepter. Because once you get that, it generally lends itself to moving in towards the rest of the neutral farm on the map. Ho Yi, especially at level 5, really does bring that fight very well.
Well, that catches me off guard to the point where I forgot how to spell Kleena's name. So I'm really happy that it's right there next to it so I can type it in. Kleena gets locked in. And Mifflin, you know, we used to have this conversation, and maybe there's a world where it can still happen. Probably not. Where it was like, oh, 2 assassins. Where's this one going to go? Kleena was exclusively played in solo towards the end of what we saw competitively, before disappearing from the meta almost entirely, kind of like she disappears into walls. What is it? Why now? Where is this coming from?
Just a pick that the Wardens have liked, generally, I would say. But otherwise, when you think about Kleena, I think her core items have only been nerfed, right? Soul Eater has taken a pretty major hurting recently. It has a little bit less power on it, has a little bit less sustain. So if you are taking this Kleena into the Soul lane, it is still likely that we are going to see Soul Eater, but it's not as strong as it once was. Yeah. Some of the tank items or bruiser-esque items that she used to really heavily utilize have also been nerfed a bit. So I'm expecting this Kleena to be still slightly weaker, but it's not going into the jungle, or the soul lane. It's going into the jungle.
Wow, I genuinely did not think with it.
A Sino team, really, yeah.
Well, not even just Sino team, just the 2 picks in general. I thought, well, there's no way Naja's doing anything that's not jungle or support. And so I was so ready to move on.
And nobody's going to fault you for that.
Yeah.
Surely not.
But what? Why? Why is Naja solo? Can Naja even keep up with a rat? Like, I guess with the clear, maybe.
Well, Naja...
Also, it's Camazotz in the jungle.
Well, yeah, of course, it's Chinfu. He couldn't play Sylvanas. Of course he's taking the Camazotz jungle. Naja solo, I mean, it's just fine. The clear's okay. Ring Toss, once you get it maxed out, should do the majority of the work. You can at least match sustain with Ratatasker, assuming this rat is going to go down the sustain path with his Acorn. The second ability from Naja matches up with that very, very well. So, not overly concerned, I think, about the laning phase for either. Camazotz has always been able to flex it in the jungle. Kleena has always been able to flex it in the jungle. It's certainly not the optimal placement for the picks, but still, you know, decent enough.
Decent enough. We'll see. I'm going to look over here to there's got to be some sort of first blood eventually on the right-hand side of the map with 4 assassins. It feels like someone over there is going to make a misstep or try for something maybe a little too strong and end up fighting each other. There's no way they just passed.
Like 2 ships in the night.
Without noticing each other. Yeah, very silent, very quiet. Sino going for a gank in mid, not going to be able to lock down stops. Meanwhile, Relentless One is in a lot more trouble. And actually turns one around, gets first blood, loses his life still, but making that a 1-for-1 trade and a 2-for-1 scenario. Oh, very well played for the Wardens just to get the first blood.
It's decent for Chinfu, who should have a slight experience advantage over Sino now, being able to get the assist for second blood as well as clearing out that wave while Mando Warrior's dead. But it is awful for Mando Warrior himself, who loses out on that first blood. I think Relentless One also cleared out a bit more of that wave beforehand as well. So significant experience advantage over to the Naja. And a Naja with a lead is super scary to deal with. He's one that can really snowball this lane. I mean, Mando Warrior isn't allowed to pick up beads, so that ultimate, if a Relentless One takes over to 5 first, it's just going to work.
I'm just floored that literally all of the assumptions I would have made, and actively did make, it's not even would have, I did make coming into this game, have been turned on its head. Not only so hard that the roles were swapped, but also that the Naja got the first blood to begin with. I thought it was going to get bullied. And yeah, here we are. Duo lane. Pressure always very important. The Khepri leading with the Charybdis. And it is kind of that talk. I mean, you know, you look over towards, like you said, the jungle. Specifically here, Chinfu having a small lead. And even though it may be small, maybe more impactful grand scheme across the map, because that means that they can be a little more active. Once you hit level 5 on Camazotz, it feels like you can do a lot and get away with it. Meanwhile, the duo lane, it feels like that's maybe where some of that pressure will go. If you're Chinfu, maybe you need to help out Mando. But if you're Sino, it feels like you don't need to help out this Naja so heavily unless things go wrong.
Yeah, and also Chinfu just doesn't want to gank a lane that has a Khepri and a Charybdis in it, right? I mean, those are potentially the 2 safest picks you could have. A double life from Scarab's Blessing and infinite CC immunity and the ability to remove yourself from the playfield as Charybdis. So it is a very unappealing gank for a Camazotz, because generally the answer to that situation is like CC. Just land a stun, you can't revive, you can't go underwater. He doesn't really have that as an option. So expect to see Chinfu elsewhere on the map, whereas Sino has a pretty decent target. Big Slim Timmy Jim's going to really struggle against that ultimate. Doesn't really have any way to deal with the slow, has to walk through it and take the damage, or just gets locked down. Either way, it's a good situation for the jungler, the Kaolin Wardens.
You know, it might just be because of sheer ridiculous nature. Big Slim Timmy Jim might be one of my favorite Smite names I've encountered.
BSTJ?
BSTJ is a really good... That's a good one. I don't know if I'm ever going to remember that, and it will absolutely...
Well, you don't have to remember it. His name's on the screen.
Well, yeah, I would flub it up. If I tried to shorten it to BSTJ in the middle of a fight, I will absolutely trip over the letters and not find the way there. I would say the one that my favorite in SMITE name I've ever encountered, but I don't know if it's broadcast appropriate. So
Well, you know, maybe don't say it then.
yeah,
Or maybe do. I don't know. You're like technically my boss.
nah, I'm not going to.
Yeah, you mulled it over. I saw you think about it though.
Well, it's one of those things that it's not inherently bad. Honestly,
I go for it.
Personally, I have probably said worse on the broadcast.
Well, then you have to say it now.
Well, first we have to see what happens over here in duo lane. A little bit of CC immunity, shards of ice thrown out there. Damage is good from the Charybdis. Suns were dropped. Knock up. Not going to be there. Mark of the Golden Crow, not necessary. The shots are good. The body blocks are strong,
Gino?
but you're all so low. It's just going to be one kill into another great wall, locked off by the Ymir, and 2 clean pickups there for the Weavers.
Man, Gino's the homie though. I mean, you're not gonna often hear me sing the praise of the guys who just get dominated in a 2v2 fight, but Gino steps back up and says, look, Griff, we're going to get you out of here, bud. Doesn't, but buys as much time as he physically could have. Blocks every single one of those auto attacks. Had Griff just had another second there. Likely would have got his third ability back up and would have made his way out of there, but unfortunate for him, not the case. So dual lane advantage over to the Anansi Weavers, and that's what we were talking about. The second they take over to level 5, this Hou Yi and Ymir just have so much fight potential with the Reigning Suns, with Shards of Ice, that really the Kaolin Wardens didn't have a direct answer to it.
Yeah.
So now a 1-level lead for both support and ADC. You might want to see Sino make a rotation sooner rather than later. Yeah,
a little bit of help goes a long way, and someone who doesn't need it, during that fight, Relentless One gets a solo kill, right? Kills off the Ratatosker again. And so it helps keep things a little more balanced, but only when you look at it team-wide, not necessarily if you look at it lane-to-lane matchup. Good pressure coming out from the Wardens on the right-hand side of the map. And again, surprising me as to what the Naja solo is going to be capable of. And that opens up a lot of opportunities on the map for the Weavers. Having a duo lane that's ahead, extra pressure, means that you can maybe get even more aggressive, although it's Gino who is going up and stealing offerings. Gino who is playing it safe and running back as fast as possible. Big Slim Timmy Jims over here on the right-hand side of the map, though. Ymir, once they get the kind of free will to run around, can be a very, very big nuisance for every fight that could go on. Much for this reason. Look at the wall. Admittedly, if that's anyone that is not Kleena, that is going a lot better for the Weavers, but into the wall and then out with some damage just off the mark from Moswall. A lot of damage that's not going to connect there. Really weird engagement. Shards of Ice channeled. There's a jump in from Mando, but the Screams in return doing a lot of damage. Low health bars on the Wardens, and that's going to be Chinfu getting aggressive. Only finds the 1, but that is more than enough to make the team happy.
Man, Sino starts that fight so well for his team. Burns through half of BSTJ's kit, misses the freeze. They're so deep. The Anansi Weavers are out of position, 2 people. But Moswall with that whiff on the ultimate just cost them so much. It was a phenomenal abduct from Gino. Just needed that extra damage to follow it up, and then the Anansi Weavers likely would have crumbled from there. Fortunately for them, just not the case. And they're allowed to get those cooldowns back and continue their own aggression. Just would have liked to see Moswall be a little bit more patient.
Yeah, Diesel. There's not much more to say about that one. Moswall maybe needing to be a little more patient. And Diesel just needing to not be there in the jungle. So, I mean, what, we get a kill for the Weavers, kill for the Wardens. 2 kills for the Weavers, kill for the Wardens. And then one more 1-for-1 to get us to the 4-3 area. Still, lead for the duo lane. Mid's mostly close. Solo lane, slight lead for the Wardens. Gino's taking a lot of poke here. Final Judgment fired off the mark. Chinfu should still be able to chase this, but a nice little meatball. Backfire off the mark. Sops is going to be able to clean up Gino. And now Griff has to play safe.
Gino's an actual psycho, by the way. Goes in for the abduct aggressively onto Sops when he's completely and behind. The Kaolin Wardens refuse to slow down their pace. They're so behind that I think they really would just benefit from clearing out the jungle, getting a couple items, then looking to re-aggress. Instead, it has been constant aggression across the board, and the Anansi Weavers have been allowed to play this counter-punch style on the map. My man went in crazy to think of. Uses the shell on the escape as well. Tough stuff, loses everything, and the Anansi Weavers push themselves slightly further ahead.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you're looking at a little over 1,000 gold, about 1200, 1300. That is going to be in their favor. So it is a nice, again, nice for 9.5 minutes. Not necessarily anything to write home about. Up into the sky goes the Naja. Rat's going to come crashing down right into the waiting arms of a Kalina. Not able to get the damage off before the ultimate is channeled from Mando Warrior. Just bounces away on the trees. Gets a nice amount of distance. Chinfu isn't able to jump in and dance with him. So they all have to back off. Right-hand side of the map
ahead.
still gets a little bit of, yeah, a little bit of pressure on right. Gino, maybe it's because he's going in while he's Zoom and abducting people, man. Maybe that's the only thing that's giving him the lead.
No, that doesn't make much sense at all. BSTJ has been, I mean, he's also been playing aggressive, but he's also 1-0-2 as opposed to 0-2-1 of Gino, who fell down much earlier. Suppose BSTJ is just allowing a lot of this farm to get soloed out.
Speaking of getting soloed out, this maybe isn't necessarily soloed out. That's a 2-for-1 all through. Mando getting smacked in the one-on-one, gets some assistance from Chinfu to allow him to finally get a kill against Relentless One. Balances some things out over in the solo lane, although still an experience lead for Relentless One, which is much smaller at this point. And Chinfu showing a little more presence than we've really gotten to see out of the Kalina. A couple of ganks that have come from the Kamazats, slightly less out of the Kalina. And the Wardens going for a Gold Fury after the Weavers picked up themselves a Pyromancer. And it's going to be a nice quick burn for them. So a 1-for-1 engagement in terms of objectives with a single kill going over to the Weavers.
Yeah, so Gold kind of maintains a state of parity post-neutral objectives. It's about where it was beforehand. But that is something we are always going to see from Kalina, regardless of how the itemization changes, regardless of all that. She is always going to be very good at dealing with these neutral objectives. That ultimate, just such a strong tool for that exact situation. But I think the primary reason we see a little bit less from Sino throughout the last couple of minutes as opposed to Chinfu is Sino's itemization. Had to stack the Soul Eater.
Yeah, had to stack it. Like you had mentioned that it got nerfed as well, and now Sino's showing up. It's full stacked. He's ready. Can you get something out of this? A little bit of damage and a nice clean kill. Dash gets you out. And it's a successful gank over there onto Diesel. That should help out more than anything, just getting Griff back into the game in terms of that kind of conversation. Still needs stacks on the Transcendence. It also needs to play catch-up. Now down 1 level, but let's call it 1.5. That level 12 has been sitting there for a while for Diesel.
And Griff, I think, is in a position where he doesn't really need to worry about getting sold out anymore. There's no real opportunity for Diesel to force that fight. If a Charybdis doesn't want to fight you, it's simply not going to happen. She's got that amount of CC immunity available to her. So expect Griff to play very passively in the lane and only really get aggressive if Sino's nearby or if someone else is coming through for the gank, which should be a pretty big indicator to Diesel, who's allowed now essentially to just free farm the lane. Neutrals should still belong to the Hou Yi just by build disparity as well as slight XP disparity that has already developed in the lane.
Now that was interesting. I don't know if I've seen that often. And I want to ask you about it, but the Khepri leveling and focusing on his root first, the 3, as opposed to maybe the 2 or even the pull. We'll have to get into that conversation in a little bit. There's going to be an engage from Mando. It's a nice little bit of a knock-up, but not enough to find too much until they have the CC lockdown onto Relentless One. It's going to be a clean kill there. Returned onto the support. 1-for-1. And the Weavers are out of there. I mean, they were gone by the time Big Slim Timmy Jim went down. So, keeping the kill parity mostly equal, maybe favoring slightly towards the Weavers because of the solo laner
No way.
advantage. Chinfu fighting Kalina. Kalina needs 1 hit, and you're going to leave that. Walks away is Sino. Sops killed off in mid. Well done by Moswall. And I guess good on Sino reading the scenario, making sure that he doesn't put himself into a bad spot.
Yeah, Sino's game sense is crazy because Mando Warrior was hiding right behind the wall nearby. Would have been able to turn that around in a 2v1. Absolutely wild game sense there. Realizes, look, I may have won this fight, but there's really not much left for me to do except for going into the jungle and stealing the speed buff away. Sino had greater machinations. He's not concerned about your life. He wants to take your dignity.
And so far, well, unfortunately for him, unsuccessful in getting all the way down there. But being able to walk around this jungle free.
He's fine.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about this one. The non-shot goes up into the air. There's going to be some damage thrown down afterward. Maybe more than necessary, but the overkill works out, man. Chinfu put into the ground. Sino has the hi-rez, and what a good pull. Gets him real far out of the fight. Make sure to keep the jungler alive. Now it's going to be the rotation. Moswall, not a lot to work with. Waiting for maybe the backfire. Good pull. And good smacks from Relentless One, then a follow-up from a waiting Sino, just shy from Sops on finding the ult there. And so far it's been 2 clean kills. Let's call it 2 for 1 now. Sino unfortunately caught out and overstaying their welcomes. Big Slim Timmy Jim does not seem long for this world. That wall is only going to do so much to help things out. Talk about a slow burn. Finally gets him down. And that's going to be a kill. And the fight doesn't stop there. There's going to be some going on in the dual lane. Griff just misses the ult. It is too far to the right. And so Diesel does what Diesel needs to do. Smack him with a bunch of autos while he stands there.
Wouldn't even call it a bunch. That was like 3 auto attacks. And right after we had talked about how Charybdis doesn't have to take a fight, she chooses when the engagement happens. Bad choice, I suppose, from Griff there. Look, this has been an absolute whiplash situation, going from the EU SEC, where it's all about slow, methodical play, looking at these neutral objectives. That's where they develop their leads. It has been a non-stop battle across the board of mechanical gaps here and there between the Anansi Weavers and the Kaolin Wardens. Don't think Sino had to die. He dashed at Sops, who had already whiffed the ultimate as well as Sops' own dash. He dashed in anyway. Sino did. Loses his life there. Don't think Griff needed to die. Uses his ultimate. Could have just walked out. Walks in. Dies there. Misses his own ultimate. Back and forth. But at the end of the day, the gold lead has not changed in the last 6 or 7 minutes. Still 1,000.
Might not change here. Pyromancer leash. Mando goes in for the engage. There's going to be an ult on the spot from Moswall. Good Aegis keeps him alive a little bit longer. hi-rez is on him. Someone's got to proc it if they want that healing to come through. Instead, he's just going to try to run away. Good stun and good pickup. Sino with a double kill. Chinfu over the corner. Good meatball. Good backfire.
Oh,
and no, the ultimate's right
shell.
there. What a shell. What a play from the support Gino, making sure that his mid laner gets on out of there. Big Slim Timmy Jim barely able to walk out of this one and might not even make the distance. Great close gap from Sino. Gets that kill. Chinfu stays alive, but he watches 3 fall around him.
Surely the Wardens can do something on the map. 3 dead from the Weavers for so long. Primal Fury seems like a pretty good call to me. I think they could even potentially have looked towards the Fire Giant. Moswall has already made his way back towards the center of the map. Maybe they just split it. Take the Primal as well as the Pyromancer and take the gold lead in one fell swoop. The Anansi Weavers, they got used to taking that pace of just early fights that never stop. The only way you go back to base is in a body bag. Assault rules on the Conquest map. I think now they could probably benefit from slowing down. I suppose I was just wrong about the Wardens. They just kept fighting until it worked.
Yeah, I mean, you had mentioned it. Their strategy was just hold W key, and they didn't stop doing that. It's just they got a little better.
It's a Sino-chasm.
Yeah, they literally got better at doing that. And yeah, I didn't even think about it. 8-1-0 is Sino. And that might have a little bit to do with the transition that we've seen here, Mifflin.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Sino's done a good job. And you know, really it was is just, hey, my soul leader's stacked now. I'm going to go get involved. And that's exactly what's happened. He just waited until that point. Chinfu getting aggressive. Locks eyes with Sino. And would you really want to? He's so good at dealing this damage.
Oh my god. I mean, even there, barely able to get up into the ult for Chinfu. Does escape. Stays alive. Nice little wall. Gino did drop ult, though. So a lot of safety mechanisms from the Wardens, or even engage mechanisms from the Wardens, just gone. Meanwhile, it was only Chinfu's ult on the other side that was used. Beads Aegis up for a lot of people on the Weavers. You got to think that's going to slow some things down. But you had mentioned gold lead and kind of discussing where it could go, what it could be. We're actually at a point where it's like slightly larger than it has been. This might be the biggest deal that could possibly happen on the map. Rats going into the air, but there's going to be the Fire Giant secured for the Wardens. Let's see what the Ratatosker wants to do here. What kind of engage and or disengage Mando Warrior. Goes back to the lane. And so 19 minutes in, the Wardens have 5 strong with a Fire Giant.
Just an easy pickup for the Wardens at that. It was only 1,000 gold separating these teams, but Diesel refuses to leave the lane. He had about 2 entire minutes to realize, yo, Griff isn't here. You know, where could he be? He's not on the Gold Fury. That's been dead. He's not on the Pyromancer. That's been dead. He's not on my towers because I would see that. And Diesel just sticks around, says, I'll take the tier 1. Doesn't even do that exactly. Clears out a Trebuchet, heads back to base, and just buys all that time for Griff to sit on the other side and work and whittle away at the Fire Giant and Seth. The Kaolin Wardens, I would argue, have gotten away with just murder in broad daylight. That should not have been an uncontested objective. The Anansi Weavers are not so far removed from the game that they couldn't have shown up.
Gino actually taking a lot more damage. I was going to say has no concerns, but did take a considerable amount there. Luckily is also Khepri, and that should soon be fine. With a Fire Giant buff, cleaning the wall, there's a sash from Relentless One. They're going to try and play aggressively. The good beats on the side of the Weavers, make sure no one goes up into the air, but the damage is just too much. The Suns are dropped, but it does not stop anybody. I mean, Sino's 10-1-0 and still running rampant in the backline. Finally, someone's able to kill off Gino, but what is it costing you? It is costing most of your team. Diesel, with a great turnaround, is able to finally shut down Sino. That has to be worth a lot of money, but you're losing that same amount of gold in this Tier 2 tower. It's still looking good for the Wardens, despite their loss.
Yeah, Sino could have used, like, a little bit of help in the back line. He killed 2 on his own. Maybe send one more guy over there to help him out with a Diesel kill. Feels like someone probably could have got there. I know the fight doesn't go so great for Gino on the other side, but surely somebody.
Well, Griff stays alive in this one. I was ready to write them off as 6 feet under. But instead, 0-2-2, the Charybdis maintains. They keep the Fire Giant, so Tier 2 in mid, gone. Tier 2 in right, gone. Still 2 towers standing over there in the left side lane, but you know, we always talk about the fact that when you get this gold lead, and finally there is a gold lead for the Wardens, it doesn't really matter until you can back and spend it. So back and spend
at 22 minutes? Is that like even that much?
It's still it's
I mean, like, it's some.
They could get like, yeah, that's like a Tier 2.
It's like a Tier 2
for everybody. For a little bit more. A lot of investment here into Big Slim Timmy Jim. Not a lot of good reasoning for it, as far as I can tell.
Well, hold on.
Looks
If
like
they
he's
get
gonna
him,
walk out of it. Feels that's 2 ults now.
Abduct's coming up, surely.
Well, he walled off and walked away, so he's gonna be fine. Instead, they'll turn. They kill off Sobs, and you know what? Who cares how many ults you use on the Ymir? You get a kill anyway.
They do. They get the kill on the Sobs. Nearly got the Ymir as well. BSTJ back and real greedy, but does make his way back to base. Mid Phoenix now being accosted as Sino dropped low.
Now this is a nice ult from Gino. At least keeps Sino alive. Gino trades out his life for it. The true support feeling. 11-2 now for the Kleena. Sino has to make sure that there's a lot of distance between him and anybody else. Pyromancer's back up. Gold Fury's back up. And so this is a good spot for the Weavers to be able to successfully say they mounted their defense. 10 seconds left on the Fire Giant buff. And it seems like the Wardens are going to need to back, reset, kill the Pyromancer, there it is, and feel successful for themselves.
Gold Fury pulled by the Weavers as well. They should be able to pick this one up without any real fight coming from the Kaolin Wardens. The only one in range to defend it likely is Moswell. He's got the ultimate available if he's willing to toss it out. Would probably cost him his life to get in range of it. The Kaolin Wardens have maintained their W key ideology. They have not taken it off once. They have only moved forward at all circumstances. Do they need to walk into the Mid Phoenix there? Absolutely not. They could have backed up, taken Pyro and the Gold Fury, or gone to left and taken the 2 remaining towers there to prime themselves for an easier Fire Giant, but that's coward stuff. I'm not here to play chess, you know. I'm here to play Smite, and that's exactly what they're doing. Should be able to regroup and move in towards the Fire Giant pit itself, though. And that's only a decision that the Kaolin Wardens are willing to make, because that's likely to be where the Anansi Weavers were. If the Weavers were on their base, I would imagine the Kaolin Wardens ignore Fire Giant to go find the fight instead.
Yeah, look for wherever like the point of contention is going to be the greatest, right? Not just like, hey, can we start a fight, or is this worth it? Just to cause a lot of trouble. Fire Giant's finally down on the map, though. Maybe a pick is what the team needs to feel truly confident. Like you said, 3,000 gold, if even. I mean, hardly even. is not really a lot 24 minutes in.
I'd say it's nothing, really.
Yeah, across everybody, you're like max
And
around 500.
It's
per
mostly
roll.
on Sino, right? Like, that's where the majority of the gold lead is.
So maybe that's going to make the big difference. Wardens get the Fire Giant. There's the engage from Mando. Mando's taking a lot of damage in the process, not dealing a lot back. Meatball's good, but not enough to be able to slow down Chinfu. Chinfu into the ult. And is going to have to run away. Big Slim Timmy Jim gone. Now Diesel comes crashing back down from Relentless One. Sun's going to be dropped. CC immunity wears out for Griff. And it is a split fight from the Wardens, trying to figure out who and where they want to put their damage. Sops is close to dead.
Oof.
Diesel's actually dead, same as Chinfu. 3 down with Sops forced to run back to base the old-fashioned way. Might not even be able to make it the entire time. Gino wants to get that kill. Will not be able to find the Thoth in time, but they're going to go down the mid-Phoenix. It's a 2v5. Without the backdoor protections being stripped, 2 towers over there. The team is not rushing to the Titan room. Big Slim Timmy Jim respawn. Gino goes down, and now with Mando rushing forward, he's only going to find the one, but Moswell's low. Relentless One low. Sino dead. And Sops has a double kill. They're looking to turn this around completely. That's going to be 3 down. Let's go ahead and call it 4. Relentless One can work some magic, or Griff can find a good way out of here. Finds 1 kill, which is impressive from Griff in this scenario, and he's going to keep going looking for more. But Sops is going to find his third as a 4 wipe on one side. Relentless One is still here and is going to try and get aggressive. A well-timed Aegis. Unfortunately missed dash. Relentless One is still looking for the fight. No ult to his name. Good sash.
Are you sure?
Dodges the ult. I have no idea what's going on or what to expect from this one, but it has to be the full-on deicide waiting.
Unlucky.
A delayed deicide. There's a sash. No, he still doesn't have the hit to get the damage. Oh, and Mando respawns and makes a huge turnaround for his team with the help of Sops.
Kaolin Wardens, you could have just gone anywhere else. Go take out a tower. Go do a neutral objective. Well, there are none on the map, so I suppose you couldn't have done that one. But yes, those towers would have been a pretty easy target, considering it was 2 versus 5, understood. Actually 3 with BSTJ on the respawn, but 3 healthy versus 5 10% HP bars probably makes it a bit difficult to siege a Phoenix, especially with backdoor protection still a part of the game. Was not an enhanced Fire Giant in their pockets. Look, these guys, the Kaolin
All
Wardens,
5 of them have like a whole W tattoo or something.
dude, they gotta get. They've got couples tattoos for sure, and it is the W key. Like, look, it's entertaining Smite, and I'll never be upset about having to watch it.
Yeah, you know, I like that. That's where you in that.
Well, yeah, there's a fight. That's your thing.
Oh yeah, good point. And you know what? I'm going to tell you, not a lot's coming out of it just yet. Sino's trying to ruin the Weaver's hopes. But maybe dashes his own teams. Now 12-4 from the 11-2 earlier. Not anywhere near as successful from the 8-1 that we saw. And now separated, scattered to the winds. I have no idea where the Wardens are thinking, what their fights are. Oh, you're right. It's hold W.
That's right.
That's what
He's still moving towards the base.
Yeah, he just has to get out of here. Oh, and there's nothing to do there. That's 2 down on the side of the Wardens. Mifflin, you know it says something about a team fight when it becomes so hectic to follow that like, you genuinely can't predict what's going to happen because they don't know what they're going to do next. I mean, that was wild.
No,
over the last few minutes.
It is clear what the decision-making process is, and I'm surprised I still got to break it down for you.
Kill.
Yeah, it's go in. These guys are W King. There's no concern for what's happening. There are no peripheral vision. They've all got their horse blinders on, and the second they lock eyes, they're like Pokemon trainers, man. They gotta walk up and take the fight every single time.
Well, seems like the Weavers are operating under something different because they walked up to that Phoenix, pulled Moswell's ult, looked at Sino respawning, Relentless One back in 10. They started to fall back, but they're in the jungle, and they're laying wait for a trap, trying to spring it onto Sino. Wall a little late from BSTJ. And now it's going to be a fight morphing into the mid lane. Mando Warrior versus Sino. The damage seems to be going Sino's way. Weavers starting to back off. Fire Giant's going to come back in 30 seconds. Well, it's because the Wardens are still holding W.
I see.
It's the other team this time that is retreating.
They are quite literally just running him down, too. That's crazy. Sino, you're alone, my guy. Let him go. Fire Giant spawning. Go there instead. I promise you that buff is going to make it even easier for you to fight in the future. It's a good investment in your own future. Pyromancer taken out. The Kaolin Wardens drop that one. And now with the Fire Giant barreling back down towards the earth, it's up to Gino and Relentless One to keep the Anansi Weavers at bay, while the rest of them have to take the unfortunate duty of not fighting gods and instead PvE.
So wild how hard and how difficult it has been. There should be the
So
secure
early.
Wardens. Oh my god, yeah, playing that one a little close. Moswell throws out the ult a little too soon, but it's still secured by the Weavers, or sorry, by the Wardens. The Weavers are trying to move themselves forward. Trying to figure out where this fight's going to be. Sino seems to be alone.
3-man.
There's going to be a shell. There's going to be a great amount of setup. Really good damage, but Sino is the one who's eating majority of this one. Gino,
Still gets a
unfortunately,
kill.
gets Relentless One. Sino's able to go 1-for-1. Shinfu does stop that, but it is good setup from the jungler on the Wardens to keep things going their way. They find 2-for-1 plus the Fire Giant.
Not EFG, though. Goes down a little bit too early for that one, so the Kaolin Wardens will have to contend themselves with backdoor protections once more if they do decide to siege. And if history's any indicator, why would we go back to base now when you can instead take a fight so close? Catches the back!
That's a great sash. Good dash.
Gets a slow.
Will Stops get out of there. Like you said, the slow's there, but yeah, Relentless One doesn't feel confident diving the Phoenix alone with 2 other members on the way to help Sops out. But like you said, no EFG as of right now. They're just doing this the old-fashioned way. See if they can get this right side. Phoenix taking a little bit of poke in the process. They do have Griff, and they do have damage. They kill off the Ymir, and that should allow them a lot more wiggle room around this bird.
Minions got into the base as well, so the Phoenix does fall down, and for the first time in 31 minutes, the Kaolin Wardens are walking away from a fight. Griff, realizing that it's not something he should have done, does fall down in exchange. Sops shuts him down as Manda Warrior goes for the flank.
Is able to get a little bit of CC. Sops gets the root onto Gino. Gino still had dash. Relentless One throws out Sash, but unfortunately misses a little bit. There's going to be the Capriol, and this is maybe the worst case
hold
scenario
on.
for you.
Hold
No,
on.
Gets him out of there, and now Sino's back, and Sino's looking for a little more. Takes too much damage in the process, though. Sops shuts down the jungler and stops him in his tracks from turning that around.
Sino did 90% of 2 HP bars, and both of them make it out with their lives. We went from 8-0 to 13-6, a Sino story. Does pick up his first assist of the game, though. The Kaolin Wardens still have Fire Giant on 3 at least for the next minute, and have finally broken
There's
the
still
base
2
as well.
towers left.
Well, yeah, who cares about towers,
Well, the only
bro?
reason it occurred is because the other Phoenixes are down. They can't even get the 3rd one yet.
Yeah, so surely they're grouping up on left to go take out those towers. That's almost certainly what's happening, right?
With a Primal Fury, couple minutes to work with. Well, just a minute, 15. Be pretty easy to knock down those tier 2s, get a lot of gold in your pockets, fall back. We'll see what they do, though. Where's the fight most likely? That's what we need to be looking
If the
at.
Weavers don't want those towers to go down, all they have to do is dangle somebody in front of the Wardens. They just gotta have
just
peek their
someone
head out of
be
the
in mid.
jungle, or peek their head into a minion wave, show up on the map, and the Wardens are like bloodhounds. They'll go find them.
Or something like this. I mean, you said peek their head in the jungle. And that's exactly what they're going to do. There's Big Slim Timmy Jim walking forward. Primal Fury getting burned down. Warden's able to secure that one. And up into the skies goes Relentless One. Waiting for the Ymir is nothing but desolation. Good damage set up for the Wardens. Now they're just trying to pick apart the rest of the Weavers. Ratatoskr re-engages. Griff stays alive for a majority of this one. Gets some good turnaround with the help of Moswell. Double kill as they take out Shinfu. Mando is 1 hit away, and it's a triple for the mid laner. 3 gone with 2 Phoenixes down. Fire minions in the base, and you have to imagine the Wardens are going to run this one right down mid.
You have to imagine, right? But I can imagine a world as well where they try and farm Fountain and die. Like that. That is a very
don't say it, it
realistic
could happen.
outcome. I'm thinking there's a non-zero chance that is the play.
At least 3 of them are going to look for a kill here instead of killing the Titan. I'm just trying to figure out which one is going to be, or 2 are going to be the ones maybe.
Oh, they're hitting the Titan.
No, they're hitting it directly. Little bit of lockup there.
Oh, hold
Some
on.
damage towards Sop. Diesel is trying so hard, but cannot get anywhere with this one.
Stop it.
They just need one kill. Sops gets one. And is trying to set things up as best they can. Comes crashing back down, though. Sino gets another one. It might not be camping the fountain, but they're still getting the kills right before they take down the Titan to get game number 1.
They really did try their best to kill literally all of them before the game ended. The only reason the Titan died before Big Slim Timmy Jim did was because Big Slim Timmy Jim was standing on the Titan and had more HP than it did when he got there. That is a wild, completely aggressive match that is not indicative of the majority of competitive Smite play. That was just aggression across the board.
I liked the way you worded it, though, where it was just entertaining, right? Like
It
that,
really
that
was.
if some Smite is the equivalent of like an Oscar winner, thought provoker, in-depth movie. Some Smite like that was our Marvel movie, right? Like that was the hey man,
Shots
you don't gotta
fired.
think too much. What? It's good. I like Marvel movies. I'm
Okay,
just
I mean, I
saying.
didn't say
I'm
you
not
didn't.
sitting. I'm not going to watch Captain Marvel and thinking that I'm walking out a better person. I think I'm just walking out entertained and happy I ate popcorn. And that's what I got from that game.
I can't walk this dark valley with you.
You don't want to.
I will not follow
jump
you
in
into
there.
the valley of the shadow of death.
Is it a shadow? Is it really? I don't even think it's that bad.
Look,
Either
man.
way. Hey, man. I had fun. Hopefully you had fun. We'll see if we have more fun in game number 2. But before all of that, we gotta hit a reset button somewhere. And so we're gonna kick it to a quick break. And when we get back, game number 2.
Living life to the maximum. All day and night. All day and night. All day and night. Living life to the maximum.
Welcome back, everyone, as the Wardens take an interesting, let's call it, game number 1 there. Back and forth. Lots of action, if that's what you wanted to see. And I hope you took my recommendation to heart and got some popcorn during the break, because I feel like that would honestly be really good for what I anticipate. It's going to be a very similar game number 2. I don't imagine why either of these sides would try to change it. Just Goritz Myth on the desk one more time, or at least one more time for this one, Wardens and the Weavers. And you know, Mifflin, I have no idea how to break that one down, but it's not my job to. So have fun with this. How would you describe game 1?
Game 1 was emphatic. It was thrilling. It was sizzling. It
Had
was
you on the edge of your seat?
had me on the edge of my
Tantalizing?
go into any airport, walk into the bookstore, grab any book off the shelf, and read all the buzzwords on the back of it, and that's what this game was. It was a twisting, turning, churning mass of entertaining and interactive moments where anything could have happened, but at the end of the day, perceivably the good guys won, I guess. I mean, it seems like both of these teams probably comprised of good dudes, but besides that, that's about it. It was action-packed. I'm running out of buzzwords, man. I'm just trying to kill air.
You hit a lot. I really like the way you described it.
Thank you.
I think if we put this game on like VHS with all those words on the case,
Someone's buying the box, right?
someone would definitely buy it. Also, I think it's really weird that my brain immediately goes to putting it on VHS and not like DVD or Blu-ray, which has been the thing for literally over 20 years.
I had a VHS once.
Once?
Yeah, it was only one. I've literally only ever held... No, I've held 2 VHSs in my life.
Uh-huh.
Mulan
Yep.
and Akira.
Those are good movies, though.
Yeah.
That's pretty sick. We had literal drawers full of video. Well, I guess they were
So, like-
bookshelves full that we moved to drawers.
So what is it, like 4 VHSs on
No,
any
it
bookshelf
was-
because
we
they're
had-
massive?
They are massive, but like probably a couple hundred. But I have
Too many.
I have 2 older siblings, so they spanned decades.
Yeah, you
Well,
just didn't
not
realize
decades.
DVDs were on the horizon? Come on, man.
Well, because we didn't. The DVDs weren't starting until I was like 5.
Oh, we knew. I knew.
You
We
knew.
all knew.
It was gonna happen. It was just when it happened. But if we put this on VHS, I'm sure someone would get it for novelty. If we put it on Blu-ray, they'd probably just rather watch the stream, because at that point, what's the difference? Either way, we can try to figure it out. Maybe just having a physical copy. I don't know where this one's going. We'll try to figure out where the rails are. Oh yeah, game number 2, and maybe what to expect there. You know, we look at what's successful, what's not successful. Do you think anything changes in picks and bans?
Well, maybe I'm banning Kleena if I'm really worried about Sino doing the exact same thing. Otherwise, P's and B's probably will just reflect the pacing of the game that we saw in Game 1. I expect a lot of gods that are capable of fighting early on. Seems to be a pretty heavy emphasis on assassins in this set, so potentially a couple more bans tossed that way, if not just prioritize a little bit more highly in the draft. It's so hard to say when a game is as action-packed as Game 1 was, where there was such a clear, emphatic decision to disregard objective-based play.
Yeah.
I think it really is just, hey, let's fight on the map, and that's really what it was. That was not a standard competitive match. That was a show. That was more a show than anything else. Oh, we're on VHS.
We taped that so fast.
All right. Well,
Wait, what does it have? What's on the?
it says SMITE on.
No. On the front, it looks that's the other side.
Artistic genius.
The one that's you're holding towards you. There we go.
Please remember to rewind from Blockbuster.
Yeah.
You had to rewind these?
Yeah, Be Kind Rewind. It's a whole thing.
That's awful. God, I would hate to be old. But yeah,
That was your takeaway?
Yeah, they chose to
God,
not
I
do
would hate
objectives.
to be old.
It was my takeaway.
Oh right, there's a game going on. I'm very focused on the VHS talk. Yamoja, Kepri, Guan Yu banned out by the Weavers. Sides have been swapped, and it'll be the Daji, Neath, and Sylvanas once again from the Wardens. As we see the Kabrakan make it through this time, and he will be first picked by the Weavers. Other side, Naja and the Kamazots locked in.
Yeah, do you think that Kamazots is going solo, or do you think Naja is going solo? Because it's so hard to say. Sino at any given point in history would fight and die on the hill that Naja should be played in the jungle. And now that everybody else is doing it, Sino seems to be uninterested, as far as I can tell, if Game 1 is any indicator.
I'm going to, on just SMITE knowledge, not these teams, just SMITE knowledge, say Camazot's solo Naja jungle. And when that ends up being wrong, I'm more than okay with it, because that's usually what it should be. And I will stand by that sentiment no matter what. Even if they end up winning, which they did last time around with the Naja solo in the Kleena jungle, which caught me off guard as well. Chernobog, Geb, Kabraken. On the other side, the Vulcan gets to reprise his role here for the Wardens. Feels like they've got a lot of similar aspects on the side of the Wardens. Meanwhile, the Weavers have a lot more kind of push forward, I would argue.
Yeah, it seems like the Weavers have got themselves a bit more standard initiation. Kabraken can start up the fight very, very well. Has got some flex potential, too, if we were to talk about maybe how the Leviathans have drafted in the past. It's been Kabraken mid, so you can leverage that early aggression and then rotate throughout the entire map, almost as a pseudo-secondary jungler. You've got a Geb this time around, though, which is a little bit less on the aggressive side. Geb, one that doesn't exactly fight in lane, or really just about ever, until at least around level 9 or 10. Then he can start getting involved, getting that front line. Otherwise, relegated to playing in his own back line, peeling out there, or just blink Cataclysm, then go back and peel your own back line. Chronos locked in, though, and the entire draft goes to the wind. And this is exactly what I was talking about earlier. It's so hard to break down the Wardens games because they play their own style unapologetically. Where is this Chronos going to go? Duo lane, maybe, because we know Maswal loves to play the Vulcan.
Yeah.
We've said that Naja should likely be in the jungle, but last time around that wasn't the case either. The Wardens are an impossible team to predict.
And that goes beyond just their picks and bans. I mean, we saw it in gameplay, too. Where it's
I watched him walk
rough.
past a fire giant to go kill a dude.
And you know what, Mifflin?
They didn't get the fire giant.
They didn't get the fire giant
That's
off
right.
that, but also they lock in the Kleena at the very end. Very similar to what they did last time.
Oh, okay.
So
Naja support.
3 assassins. Naja has been the support when anything like this has happened before. And we'll see what ends up happening here. Number 2. And more so if it can be successful. Yeah, okay, so that's not egregious, right? Camazot's solo, Sino going back on the Kleena, and then a Naja support. Granted, while most of this hasn't been meta, it's still going to exist here. And give or take any year of SMITE across the history, you'd probably see these gods in these roles.
At some point, absolutely. I mean, if legitimately with the gods selected, the only thing I would have changed is I would have flipped Sino and Relentless one. I'd prefer to see the Kleena in the soul lane, but otherwise, standard application of each one of these picks, and Kleena certainly capable of jungling because of what Sino did in Game 1. He's earned my respect enough that I'm not even going to question it going forward. What does need and requires some questioning is the Chronos for Griff, because Griff is a guy that likes to get aggressive in lane. We saw in the previous match when he's playing the safer pick, he's still W-keyed at the enemy, got slammed by Diesel, and this time he says, all right, well, let me get on the Chronos, which is a god that has historically required about 25 minutes of spooling time.
Yeah.
You really need to wind up and get some items. That is not exactly the pacing that the Kaolin Wardens have ever decided for themselves.
I want to play a game, Mifflin. I'm going to list the specifically just the Hunter bans from Game 1 and Game 2.
Mm-hmm.
One of those he played Kleena, one we've seen the Chronos. And I want you to tell me which one you imagine is the Kleena game, because I'm thinking that
Charybdis.
hopefully, or yeah, what did I say, Kleena? Yeah, Charybdis. So we've got one where Neath, Cupid, those are the only Hunter bans, and all 10.
Mm-hmm.
Then the other one is Neath, Amuz and Cobb, Chernobog, Cupid. There's 4. So it's only twice as many, but one of those is Chronos, one of those ends up being the Charybdis. I might have to hold that thought for a second. The Sops maybe turned around on. There's going to be a slow. There's some damage, but not enough from Sino. Sops is going to live to see another day. Maybe even get a little bit of a turnaround. Some good poke at least onto Sino.
Sops putting out a good deal of damage, and that's exactly what you lock the Uller for, is that early aggression. If I had to guess with your game, by the way, it's the 4 Hunter ban game is the time he played a Hunter.
Yeah, and then for some reason, with only 2 gone, I guess technically 4 if you want to add in the picks.
Yeah,
4
but
off
like,
the
you
list,
know,
but like,
Kronos is not a bad god, by the way. Kronos is like incredibly strong. It just takes a while.
yeah, like his passive literally says, "By the way, you'll do great damage eventually."
Is that really what his passive says?
No, it's probably more elegantly worded than that, but that more or less is what his passive is.
Understood.
And so, we'll see. I guess watching Griff, how long can this game go? As I will pull up. I'll read to you. Kronos becomes empowered as time flows around him. An ad just pushed me around. Every 1.5 minutes, he gains a stack that increases his magical power, stacks up to 25 times. Stacks are permanent, and each power, or he gets 5 power per stack. So it's it's up to 125 magical power, but it has to be a 37.5 minute game to get all of that. And so it is
No, we
literally
like just
he
about
gets,
got
like,
there in the
super-
previous match.
Did we really? Was that long?
It was
That
like a
felt
30,
so
34,
wild.
35 minute game, yeah.
That's right. One of those was almost enhanced.
That's right.
Why were they going that long?
Well, because they were fighting a lot. They
Oh,
weren't
and
really-
not getting objectives.
Yeah, Tier 2 tower went down at like the 34-minute mark, man.
Yeah, there was a lot going on that game. That I was focused on the fact that it was just hold W constantly, permanently. We'll see what changes, if anything, from the Wardens this time around. But yeah, look at the Kronos, and just I want to keep my eyes on him. I feel like we've seen a lot of Kronos in Europe lately, and a lot might be generous. It might just be like a moderate amount.
I've seen like 1 or 2 games.
But it's almost always been in mid, right? Like so. I mean, do you? I guess in this circumstance, yes, Moswall should be on the Vulcan. But do you like Kronos in mid more than Hunter right now, or do you think it doesn't matter?
I think that you want to have your Kronos as close to possible as the, or to the rather, highest amount of neutral farm. And the most contestable farm in the game is in the duo lane. There's just so much farm over there between the purple buffs, the side camps, the spawn minions for offerings, things along those lines, the oracles, that having your Kronos there is very important. But also, I think the allocation of the Kronos in this match was almost completely contingent on how to avoid this Uller. You'd much prefer to have your Kronos lined up against Chernobog than Ull.
Yeah, keep yourself safe. Keep him out of there. Chinfu, big burst damage from Oswald. Chino doesn't have the damage to end that one. First blood so close for the Wardens. Well, it slips right through their hands. Chinfu's going to be able to back off. And Mercury, we've been having this conversation a little bit more recently. Very similar to the things with Freya. Used to be, could only last late game. Now, I mean, level 3, level 4, level 5 specifically, can be a lot more impactful than you'd imagine.
Can be. I'd imagine we see a bit more of those fights start to erupt around level 7, level 8, because of that exact interaction that we just saw, where Moswell's ultimate may connect, but it just doesn't quite have the damage just yet. That'll change up as he starts to stack up that Warlocks, or we're moving to a Tier 2 item. Similarly, Sino, probably going to be taking a slower approach to the early game until he's got that Soul Eater stacked up. Hasn't even finished it up just yet. We're still sitting on the Bound Gauntlet, so for now, the Kaolin Wardens have resigned themselves to a much slower pace, but that's what we saw in Game 1 as well. It took them 6, 7, 8, 9 minutes before that game became constant battling because of these slow first item selections.
Yeah.
Afterwards, though, it really will start to pick up the pace. So if the Anansi Weavers so choose, they could try and force fights now and catch the Kaolin Wardens off balance. But when you look at the individual picks on the side of the Anansi Weavers, they haven't exactly got the most early game bullies. They've certainly got a couple. Kabrakan, very strong, but in the Soul lane up against a Kamazos, doesn't really have too many opportunities. Sops on this Ull, one of the best lane bullies in the game, but when flanked by a slow support like Geb and a slow jungle like Mercury, you don't exactly get to leverage it in the 3v3, at least not for the first 10 or so minutes.
You know, you kind of mentioned, like, first off, the early game where the leverage can be. And one of the things we had talked about, and you had mentioned actually at the beginning of Picks and Bans for game number 1, was centered around like Manticore's spike users, and that's kind of what we've seen over the last few weeks in the SBL as well, where it's just if they can use that well, they're going to. I'm gonna have to rack my brain. I can't remember seeing too many picked up last game. But that's the reason Cabrakan has been like the top pick in a lot of SPL games, or one of the most banned gods that we've seen so far this phase. Maybe we'll have to hold that thought for a little bit. Gino in a little bit of trouble, goes up to the air with Chin Fu. Not a lot of damage on those autos, not a lot of follow-up from the team. With that ult being down, does not have a lot of disengage for himself. Gino taken down for first blood by Sops. Damage from the Wardens was getting thrown towards the Weavers. A couple of ults used as well, but does not find anything in response, so it's a nice 1-0 lead.
Gino did a whole lot of damage there, surprisingly. That Naja put in work, but the entire time, both Sino and Maswal were distracted by Big Slim Timmy Jim, who wasn't doing nearly as much damage in his own interaction, but at least survived at the end of the day, was able to zone out with the Cataclysm as well. I wonder, had Kaolin Wardens just walked past Big Slim and got involved in the fight around Gino, that may have gone differently.
Could have potentially opened up just a kill, straight up. I mean, at least a return, maybe given first blood to the Warriors, things like that. But we can go back to the point I was going to ask you about, which is that we see the Bancroft start for Mando, and that doesn't necessarily mean, hey, he can't get any of these items that we're looking at, but do you feel like, where in your mind, I guess, is a better question, that Manticore Spike like comes online and is like the best time for a solo Cabrakan? Because we haven't seen him over there quite some time.
As soon as possible. Manticore Spike is that good.
Yeah, that's
just get it second item. Legitimately, I think you could. Otherwise, third item, and if failing that, get it fourth item. I want it as early in that build as possible. Occasionally, I'd even like to see it first item, but generally not. I think Bancrofts has enough value on Cabrakan, getting a little bit of sustain in that lane to deal with the sustain inherent to the kit of Camazotz has got value in that regard, but I do want to see Manticore Spike, and I want to see it sooner rather than later. Otherwise, not exactly too many people are going to utilize it all that well in this match. Naja has in the past, but on support, and recently today, the couple of times we've seen him locked in already, has completely foregone Manticore Spike, so
yeah.
we'll see whether or not Gino elects to pick that one up. But as far as Mando Warrior is concerned, I feel like it's just core. It's not coming in second item, though. My man bought a book. What a nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He bought a what? I don't know. He bought a book. Might be a nerd. Never know. I mean, doing a lot of reading in game. There's an ult from Gino just to disengage. A lot of good pressure from the Weavers just around the middle of the map, neutral territory. And Mifflin, I mean, it's very similar to last game where there is a slight lead, not quite 1,000 for the Weavers, despite the first blood existing. In fact, it's really just the first blood bounty, if you want to look at it. That's separating them from the Wardens. And so I'm looking at the fact that it's about 10 minutes. Pyromancer's going to be coming in. That was a really big point of contention last time around. And I have to imagine that this is something that for both of these teams is going to be a very big deal. We had a lot of kills, a lot of fights in the 4-assassin right-hand side of the map. But with one now being a Guardian, Mando Warrior harder to kill, Relentless One hard to kill once the ult's online. When does the pressure get to start now? Is it exclusively on these ults? Is it exclusively set up? Or can they look for like standard ganks and just try to find a good pick in the jungle?
Gore, I'm going to be completely honest with you and pull back the curtain a little bit. I'm not certain about which team you're talking to me about or if you're talking about in general.
Just in general.
In general, well, if game one's any indicator, and I think it is, Sino will get active the second he finishes stacking that Soul Eater, so in 4 minion kills. Otherwise, expect Maswal to generally play around Gino's ultimate. Griff, it's going to take him another 15 or so minutes probably.
Yeah, before he exists
before
in the game.
he really exists. Chin Fu, going to take him a couple more minutes as well. He's playing Mercury, so once Wind Demon is finished up, once he starts getting a little bit more crit online, then you can expect him to start fighting a bit more aggressively. This is I'm getting whiplash, man. It's just a completely different pace to game one. So I think it's more so about evaluating which one of these compositions is better in the late game, and it is very difficult to vote against a team that's got Chronos if this game is going to go to the latest absolute portions.
Yeah, if it gets long enough, Chronos is just going to do a lot of damage. Although, you know, I'm inclined to think that the team that has 2 Guardians is going to scale pretty well into the late as well. I guess it just depends on how they feel their shred is on the Wardens.
Oh, I'm not certain that I would say Mando Warrior's playing a Guardian right now.
Yeah, good point. He's playing Cabrakan, and with this build and what I'm starting to assume might not have a Manticore spike.
Probably not.
Yeah.
He's going full damage tree. You won't get the most value out of the passive. I'd expect him to be a frontliner. That's on me.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have done that.
Well, no, actually, if anything, Mifflin, I'll take the blame for this one because
Oh,
I
thanks.
asked you about it.
Oh, okay, cool.
Like I led you to a well to drink from,
And it was poison.
and it was poisoned, and that's me. In fact, I might have actively Mando poisoned it. We got to be clear. Mando's the one who poisoned the water. We'll see whether or not it ends up working well for them or not. As the game continues, Weavers. A lot of presence over there on left. Fury seems like it might be looked at by the Wardens. But it was just the turret from Moswall. Has good secure still compared to what the Weavers have. And now that Soul Eater has been finished. So my eyes are on Sino. Last time Sino finished a Soul Eater playing Kleena, he went 8-0 at a certain point. So maybe some kills on the horizon.
Uh-oh.
Maybe not the way you would want them to be. Unfortunate placement for those walls, but there's still a small opening for Sino to get into the geometry of the map. Disengages pretty cleanly. Keeps things going their way. Blue buff, though, stolen. Now they're looking for a little more. Gino is going to get wrapped under the tier 2. It's a dive, and they're still going to be able to get the kill. Not a lot of damage in return, but it's a 4v4. You need a little more from the rest of the Wardens to try and make this go their way. Really good Sonic Boom, finds some great CC, and now it's Mando leading the way, able to help lock down Sino long enough to get the kill, even though he trades out his own life. Kronos is here. Stun was good onto 1, but you're just not late game yet, and you don't have the damage. Plus, the autos have just not been ringing true. 3 in a row off the mark from Griff. And not a lot to be said there, but here's going to be the lockdown. Now you have the opportunity. You got to get something out of this, but no, whiffs again. And it is looking pretty solid, but they've stayed too long on the Weavers. Griff is looking for a little more again. There's so many ways that fight could have gone, and I'm going to be honest, people walking away from it alive is not how I thought it was going to happen.
Griff, you big stinker. You're a stinky. You missed everything, the entire fight. My man rotated through and missed, and then continued to do so for 45 entire seconds. I'm kind of hoping that Kronos gets a nerf and gets lower cooldown so it doesn't happen to him as often. That is crazy. I'd almost accuse him of collusion. That's wild, bro. You went to P's and B's and chose that for yourself, my guy. You're telling me he doesn't practice this pick, dude? What is going on here, man? Griff. Wow. That is crazy. And you know the thing? You want to know the real thing?
What's the real thing?
Every god Griff plays has ranged auto attacks. You know,
Yeah.
he can't blame Kronos on that part. Like the
Hold
kit,
on.
sure.
Do you remember when he did the exact same thing early as the Charybdis?
Oh man, that's crazy.
He took
bro.
the 1v1 in duo.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know what?
Griff's just a late game player, man.
In 15 minutes, the one ability he did land is going to hit way harder. So it's going to be. We're going to be just fine.
That's unfortunate. Oh man. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I don't know if it's unfortunate that it happened or that we caught it. I don't know which.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have to catch it because the rest of his team was dead. And here's the thing, the rest of his team caught it too because they were dead.
They were dead. Yeah, they all had to watch that. Shinfu finally in some trouble, saving me, giving me an anchor to rely on. But his Mercury got a speed, gets out of there pretty well. He's able to run off. Sino's dead. And so it's a nice pickup. Weavers come in, get the kill, get out.
Yep, the Weavers have set themselves up very, very well for this game. They go for that wild dive on right, go unpunished just about, pick up the Pyromancer on the tail end of it as well, and now can start moving in towards that Gold Fury. And they don't need to really concern themselves with Griff for a little while. I'm talking about how long it takes Kronos to spool up, not the fact that he doesn't hit abilities, but I'm sure that does also make it a little bit easier for them to not worry about it.
Man, they weren't. It wasn't even insane jukes. Like, some of them were, but sometimes they just said, oh, I'm going to turn left this time.
Wouldn't it be crazy if I zigzagged? Yeah.
We're going to keep our eyes on this, Kronos. Because right now, look, 1-0-1. That's a good KDA, but it's going to get better. It's going to be 8-0-4 by the end of this or something. Ridiculous. Pace of the game, though, you had mentioned it. Good start for the Weavers. Great level of play. 6 kills to 2. And just shy of being a full 4,000 gold. I guess closer to around that 3,600 mark for them. And that is a comfy lead. Look, 16, 17 minutes in, we were talking about how like 4,000 at 24 minutes is like a lead, but maybe not as great. But where they're at now, experience and gold-wise, this is a phenomenal position to be playing from if you're the Weavers.
And Shinfu's hit some pretty significant power spikes at that. Now has the Shadow Steel as well as the Wind Demon, so expect him to make pretty quick work of this Gold Fury. Griff nearby, though. Could steal it away.
Tries. And
He made it
does!
up.
My God! Look, he's made up for everything. Forget those 45 seconds.
I
All
can't
that
believe they
matters
just let him do it.
is that too. Time Rift from Kronos just finds it. Look, the team needs that, right? You were looking at Sino just second 14 to 16, now 15 to 16. You needed the experience, you needed the gold, and Griff hath provided for the squad. But can they get out of this one unscathed? Moswell's in a little bit of trouble.
Ooh, nice
and
shot.
isn't going to be able to escape. Stops there. The fight's going to continue on. Sino's rotating in. They want something alongside this Fury. Shinfu's been forced away from the engagement. So it is a 4v4 in mid with the rotation from the Hunters. Kronos has a little bit out there. I've got better news for him around objectives than I've seen in team fights so far, but we'll see. The turnaround for the Wardens is going to be there. No big kill pickup for him. No, they're just going to let Moswell die, be happy with the Fury.
And I think they have to be at the pacing that we've seen so far. They're keeping the game, the Kaolin Wardens that is, a bit more even than I had thought it would have been at this point. That Gold Fury Steel will go a long way to slow down the pacing from the Weavers, but not so much so that I think the Weavers need to respect the gold difference, right? We had seen at the 20-some-odd minute mark the Kaolin Wardens make a play for the Fire Giant with an 800 gold difference. This is 4,000 at 19 minutes with a composition on the side of the Anansi Weavers that is just incredibly good at dealing with these objectives. You've got a double Hunter draft. We'll call it 3 because Chinfu, it might as well be a Hunter when we're talking about neutral objective DPS as well. And a double Guardian front line, which should be able to keep the Kaolin Wardens out with relative ease. I say with relative ease and not with just blanket statement ease because they allowed Griff to just walk up and press 1, but don't expect that around Fire.
Well, now they're allowing Griff to walk up. This time it's 3 and kills off Diesel really well. Help of Gino there. Griff's going to get the rewind off. Chinfu dies off in mid, and that's a good 2-man swing for the Wardens. Gino still chasing down Sops. Griff throwing all of the damage that exists for him into Big Slim Timmy Jim. Not getting a lot off the top there as far as things go. That is a Geb. They're still attacking him.
Okay.
He's still taking damage now. They've got a little more help and Relentless One. The stun is not going to connect. The slow into stun from
Sash
Griff.
coming up? Nope.
And instead they're just going to let that one walk away and find themselves a tier 1 tower plus the 2 kills they found earlier.
Looks like Sino might be some trouble on the other side of the map. Kabrakan seems to have found him in the jungle. Unfortunately, Kabrakan cannot follow down that path. Inside the walls, the domain of Kleena and Kleena alone, and will make her way out of that engagement. The Kaolin Wardens catch the Weavers a little bit over-aggressive on the map there. Griff able to connect a couple of stuns, separates the fight, isolates and takes down the tier 1 tower as well. The Kaolin Wardens, major swing from them. They cut the lead in half. The Anansi Weavers really losing out of that pacing. And again, we're only 20 minutes in, which is still relatively early based on the composition we see on the side of the Wardens, where both Moswell and Griff are really reliant on itemization. So there are still opportunities, but the longer this game goes, regardless of pacing, the better it's going to get for the Wardens. The Weavers may have an advantage now, but they need to make use of it.
Well, Gino up in the air with Diesel. What a great ult coming back from Moswell. They haven't been able to kill off the Chernobog just yet. And instead, Moswell's the one who ends up getting taken down here. Diesel, not only alive, shielded through everything. Relentless One barely has any time to try and get out of here. Does a couple of swoops. It's going to create a lot of distance to get out of there. Great walls, lock in, Sino, double kill for Mando. And it might not stop there. Griff alone under the tier 2 now with a little help from Gino. Might be able to survive, but it doesn't look great. 4v2, 5v2. Turns into a 5v1 fast. Griff is able to get one on Sops, though. and is maybe looking for a little more. CC's good from Mando. Rewind not going to get channeled in time. Relentless One back, ready for more action, and unfortunately the action's ready for him this time as well. No ult to their name, and it's a chase down from Mando. Gets the full-on kill, another double for Mando, glorified Quadra, and the deicide on the side of the Wardens.
Had Griff gotten that rewind off, that was Penta territory for the Chronos. Has so much damage output, still maintains the beads as well. Could have very well turned around that entire engagement considering the HP bars on the side of the Weavers, but fortunately for the Weavers, their W key strategy that they have stolen wholesale from the Kaolin Wardens has applied perfectly here in Game 2. And they've reestablished that exact lead that they had lost in the previous skirmish. So now, with defensive positioning established by the Weavers around the Fire Giant, could potentially pull the objective and force the Kaolin Wardens to face check it, which would be massive considering the current relic situation on the side of the Wardens. They've got just about none of them.
Yeah, good point. Very solid potential, I guess, for the Weavers. Although not like they have much more going for them outside of the, 5,000 gold, the Pyromancer they just got. Couple of relics that are in their favor. They're going to start it up. Weavers do get the Fire Giant and immediately burn down Gino right after. That's a good set of walls, locking away on the side of Mando Warrior, making sure no one's going to be able to get aggressive into the Fire Giant. Keeps the team safe. Gets them even further ahead at this point, Mifflin. Chenfu is channeling the ult. In the event anyone makes a mistake, misses just narrowly on the Relentless One there. Tier 2 is going to fall down. They've got a minion wave. They're going to start moving forward.
Still 20 seconds left on Gino's respawn. And Moswell, no ultimate available. The Weavers, they've got a huge opportunity here.
Sops takes a lot of poke in the process. Relentless One trying to get some damage out there. Works out well on a Chinfu. And now around the Phoenix, they're looking to mount a defense, but Sops, good damage, good CC from the team, and it's a surge forward. Triple kill for the mid laner on the Ul, and now trying to chase them down. 2 bodies left standing in front of him. He's going to fall back, focus this time around. Some more, trains them forward. Mando, credit for the kill. But that one is all thanks to Sops. The axe well thrown out, and the damage still seems to be there. Titan kills off Big Slim Timmy Jim. Meanwhile, Diesel doing the due diligence, getting rid of the Phoenix. Titan's exposed? They got 20 seconds with a minion wave here.
No way.
No, they're going to back off. Still a lot of towers, or at least 2 towers, that they need to get rid of before they feel comfortable sieging that Titan.
That fight was completely lost for the Weavers. And then BSTJ makes the hero play, slams down 4 with the Cataclysm, immediately turning around that entire engagement. Not only does he hit 4, but he hits 4 stacked up, which allows Mando Warrior to hit 4 with the second ability, go into the channeled tremors, and just does so much damage. No opportunity for Griff to return damage as he's channeling the rewind. Just a miracle situation towards the tail end of that fight to completely turn it on its head in favor of the Weavers. Diesel not able to continue the dive with his team, was able to take out that right side Phoenix, while Sops and Mando Warrior are able to finish off their own chase individually. Fire Giant power play still has a significant amount of time on it as well. Could move in towards this Oni Fury, start putting some pressure on the map just by the enhanced minions, head back to base, spend up that gold, or potentially look at one of these tier 2 towers, then head back to base, and then get ready for this next Fire Giant. But already with a 10,000 gold lead, the Weavers are in a very good position from here. That absolute latest portion of the game that we were talking about is finally starting to approach, though, for the Kaolin Wardens. I'm keeping my eyes on Griff. He's elected to go for a standard mage build, no ring pickups just yet. Could elect to go towards one if he so chooses a little bit later on. And if you had wondered, maybe he's going to go towards the nimble glyph so that he could, get his power stack, but still at least get a little bit of attack speed. Not the case. Bancroft's Claw on the Chronos. For those of you that don't know how that item works, I can't blame you. The description of it is esoteric at best. But essentially, yeah, don't even pull it up, man. Come on, I'm not reading that.
That's a novel, bro.
Yeah, I'm not reading that. When you're really close to people and use abilities, you get HP shield.
Yeah, and you know what? That feels really good. Griff, though, not going to be able to capitalize too much on it. Taken down and cleaned up, but it's a good turnaround. 2 down on the other side. Let's make it 3 as the chase forward from the Wardens is working out well. There's a Trebuchet over here. So a lot of work that needs to be done. Right side Phoenix went down earlier, but they save the left side Phoenix. And they burn down a little more of this Fire Giant. With only 20 seconds left, they're going to let this one fall off on the side of the Weavers. And Mifflin, it's 9,000 gold. It is not a comfortable position for the Wardens, but we've started to see some good fights back.
The fight potential has always been there, but it's been almost completely contingent on whether or not Moswell's hitting a natural disaster level ultimate, right? Earthshaker needs to live up to its name, or the fight just does not go well for the Kaolin Wardens. We've seen a lot of single target ultimates as Gino takes one to the air and Moswell generally follows up. Chinfu could be in some trouble here. Relentless One putting out some damage. Is able to work his way out. Slips through the offense of the Kaolin Wardens. Keeping my eyes on the pacing of the match, right side Phoenix is the only one to have been taken away from the Wardens, so that is the easiest to defend while simultaneously trying to vie for the Fire Giant. You're so close to the pit itself. Imagine we see the Chaos team step up here. If the Kaolin Wardens take a clean team fight over the Weavers, that's GG. If the Weavers take a dirty team fight over the Wardens, that's probably GG in itself, just because of the map state as it is. So, this game very well could end on this next exchange, and it seems as if the Kaolin Wardens are willing to defend the Fire Giant.
Well, we've been talking about late game. We've been talking about the Chronos. 27 minutes in, maybe not full power from the passive, but a lot that is going to be in here. Mando taken up to the air. Good follow-up from the rest of the team, but it's going to be walls that lock off Gino. Keep it a little more balanced. Relentless One took a lot of damage trying to get in there. Has to use the ult to disengage. Roll forward from Big Slim Timmy Jim. Unfortunately, it's not going to be enough there. Diesel is taken down. Chinfu is looking for the backline, but is he going to be able to find anything useful? A lot of damage, a lot of crit. And the sash? No, it opens up Sops for so more. You had mentioned it. A dirty team fight could look great here for the Weavers. But it's 3 down, 2 down on one, 2 down on the other, 3 up for both these squads. Carries galore. Maybe able to find a front line here in a second. All you need is a little bit of CC. Good body block from Relentless One. And that's going to allow Griff to come in, get those last hits that are necessary, make it a favorable trade for the Wardens.
Griff does a whole lot of damage now. My man is swinging for the fences, so you cannot allow him to be the one remaining at the tail end of these team fights. Moswell as well finds a whole lot of value in that exchange, does a ton of damage. The ultimate was single target, but the meatballs were not, always finding 2 or 3. Gotta question the decision-making from Gino, though, right? Like, to go back in with the sash from those circumstances feels like it was unnecessary. The follow-up was not quite there, but did at least create space for his squad.
Oh, man, 50-50 on the FG. It's going to be a swoop in. Weavers secure it, and they get it on 3. Diesel just now respawned.
Why'd they all back?
Why did they all back? Well, 2 of them were dead, so I'll give Sino and Gino a
2 were dead on the side of the Weavers.
Griff should have probably been there.
He was full HP and full mana.
Yeah, the Weavers able to get away with the Fire Giant this time, Mifflin. They, for better or worse, I don't know if the term sneak is what I want to use, but it's the only one that I can think of. They you know what? They just grab it. They just walk up and say, oh, okay, hey, wait, you don't want this? If you're not going to take this, I'm going to take this. Oh, okay, cool. We'll take this. And it works out well for him. Mando, Chinfu, Diesel. And like you said, with the amount of damage that Chinfu can do to objectives, it's pretty solid to have on your Mercury.
It is. And a power spike has been hit by Griff again here. Alternate timeline finished up. So good infusion of CDR, another life to play with in the team fight. Essentially now has 3 lives, timeline, rewind, and then the one that actually makes him pay with his life. So going to be difficult to shut down this Chronos in some of these exchanges. And Fire Giant is only on 3 for the Weavers. Big Slim and Sops both missing out on the buff.
Relentless One, oh my god, just chunked down in an instant, but does escape. Has ult available again, gonna go up into it. Swinging against the front lines. Doing virtually no damage in that instant. So Relentless One has to back, heal up, and do their best to stay alive. As it's now the Fire Giant split 3 and 2. The Weavers trying to find their way into the Phoenix line.
It's all about poking and prodding. This is not enhanced Fire Giant, so backdoor protections are certainly still there. But the ability to just apply damage from a range with this composition from the Weavers, almost coming exclusively from Sops, by the way, is incredibly high. If you could poke out Griff, if you could poke out Moswell with Hail of Arrows, that's one way to find your way in. or if Chinfu could just straight up solo Sino
What about
and Relentless. What? Just
like
W
it's
key?
nothing. I mean, just auto after auto, like it. I mean, no resistance on the other side. Very easy shots, but can they find some sort of defense on the other side? Mando Warriors getting massive shields and is living so
He's
well.
still going.
Chinfu gets into the backline. Finally, someone shuts him down. Moswall, Griff, Gino trying to mount their defenses and doing the best they can. The Phoenix putting some work in there, but they lose 2 more. And now Griff, you gotta make up for what we saw earlier. This is the defense time. 30 seconds before Sino is back. No, it's going to be the Weavers. 2 low health bars, not feeling confident. They're going to back away from the Titan for now. Griff steps forward. They get the minion wave. They're going to go in, rewind immediately. Going to put him in an awkward spot. Figure out how you can get the damage there. Find some good slows onto Mando, but not a lot of damage.
Timeline.
There's going to be the timeline.
Yep.
And it looks like we ended up at not an alternate timeline, pretty much the exact same one. Griff still dies. Sino respawns. Relentless One is back. Buys enough time in this instance just to make sure that his team can come back for the defense.
Big Slim comes up massive for his squad there, connects the shield onto Mando. Had the stun connected from Kronos, likely would have cost Mando his life and likely would have been able to turn that around, potentially even to a quadra kill. That was very, very narrow margins. The damage output that Kronos had and the HP bars that remain on the side of the Weavers would have made that difficult. I'm not the biggest fan of the usage of rewind that we had seen. Don't think it was completely necessary from that position, but was utilized nonetheless, and put him into a certain position that probably wasn't ideal for him. Otherwise, still bought time for his team, as you said. Keeps the game alive, and at the end of the day, it's all about killing the Titan, and neither squad has been capable of doing so just yet here in Game 2. The Anansi Weavers have done everything but. They've taken out all Phoenixes at some points. Oh, no, left has not gone down just yet, but right side Phoenix is permanently weakened and could be a good target for the Anansi Weavers if they're getting restless. And otherwise, give it exactly 45 seconds, 40 seconds. Wait for that Fire Giant to respawn. Take it, you get the enhanced Fire Giant. You don't need to concern yourself with those backdoor protections anymore. And then you can have a much easier time on the siege.
We'll see where this damage goes. I'm going to be honest. I've seen a lot of damage being thrown Mando's way or thrown towards BSTJ there. And I don't know how much I like it. They're not burning through these tanks at all in most instances. And instead, it's the other way around, right? You're getting someone like Chinfu who just bodies anybody who stands in front of him for more than a second. And unfortunately for Relentless One, they're on that list this time around. Do not see the Wardens stepping up to this FG. Maybe they are going to get a little aggressive in mid, at least in terms for clearing. You're still looking at trying to finalize some builds, maybe not too many though. With the alternate timeline, you've already got most of your starters upgraded. It is going to be relics that they're looking at next for the Wardens. Maybe some power potions, things that'll help them on the defense. But like you said, this right side Phoenix already permanently damaged and permanently unhealthy. And with an EFG, it's even easier to walk in and take it down.
Just feels like Chinfu is going to fire off this ultimate and get a pentakill. My man has almost single-handedly decided that this game needs to end, be it through that initial Phoenix siege that we had seen where he takes out 2 on his own, or in that Fire Giant power play where he takes out Relentless One on his own. Feels like anybody with the Kaolin Wardens tag has got to be concerned about this Mercury. Lines it up. Sino's got Magi's, though, so it won't be easy to deal with him. Could be looking for Griff, though.
Yeah, have to figure a way to the back line. And look, if you're talking about someone, first off, that alternate timeline still down for another 3 minutes, by the way. Maybe closer to 2.5 now. It's still a lot of trouble for them. Big Slim Timmy Jim's taking a lot of damage from the Phoenix. This is looking like it might be a solid defense from the one side. Mando has to have a lot of shielding thrown his way. Ring toss is decent. Spreads some out. There's no surge forward, though, from the Weavers, or from the Wardens. And there's nothing you can really do about
You
this.
don't win that fight, bud.
Relentless One has lost a 2v1, then a 1v1 against Chinfu. Might be losing another one here soon if they stick around too long. 2 fire minion waves that are going to be starting to pour in. Right side is definitely in danger now. Soon it'll start to be that pressure in mid as well. Left side Phoenix is the focus right now, Mifflin. And it seems like the kill
Uh-oh.
potential might be on to Jinfu. Oh, but there's just too much going the other way. What a good stun. What good setup. Nothing you can do about that. Baited into the fight, and Relentless One gets taken down. They trade out Mando, and it's 1-for-1. Maybe this is the moment for things to go well for the Wardens. I've been talking about it. We mentioned it. We joked about it. Diesel gone.
It's two.
And we're at the 36-45. This is
Gino.
like a good spot for Griff to come in and deal
Gotta
the
hit
damage that's
those.
necessary. But you got to be able to hit what you've got, Gino. Barely alive. Barely escaping. But the Titan's still alive, Mifflin. Barely, but it's still alive. And the Wardens fight on.
They do. Griff has just been finding these single target third abilities every single time dealt with by Big Slim. Those stuns just have not been connecting because of the stone shield. Seems as if the Geb really only needs to hold it onto that shield for that one ability. Otherwise, Maswal nearly connects with a meatball, would have shut down Chinfu, could have opened the door to at least expose a Phoenix for the Kaolin Wardens, but now we are in far odds. 3 Phoenixes down, comebacks from this position with your Titan at that amount of HP. I'm sure we could count comebacks of that caliber on maybe 1 or 2 hands. But I think the
Probably
Kaolin Wardens have got a pretty decent idea of who they need to deal with, and it's Chinfu.
He's up in the air. Comes down, damage waiting him. There's going to be the stone
Did he
shield.
even get hit?
Griff is just dead, and it does not even matter. Chinfu, in fact, honestly looks healthier than when this engagement started and is going to continue this chase forward. At this point, yeah, do exactly what he's doing. No, don't even bother with the fight, man. You're a Mercury at late game. Just run down that Titan. You've got a Fire Minion wave in there. Who cares about Maswal? Who cares about Relentless One? You can just find the kills and close this one out pretty easily if you're the Weavers. Mifflin, there are a lot of moments where you feel like the Wardens get their backs broken throughout this one. And I have to imagine it happened a few times for him.
Well, hold on. Keep casting, man. Maswal's alive.
You're right. Maswal is alive.
He's got it.
The Titan's not.
Okay. Well, yep, you got it. Look, this
Hey,
one
there's
was
game
Chinfu
2 for
diff.
the Weavers.
That's Chinfu diff. He literally
just did it to him.
single-handedly broke the base. That's all that happened there. That initial siege where he kills 2 on his own by holding down 2 keys, mechanical excellence at its best in Smite, W and left click, WM1, kills 2, tons of punches. From there, the Weavers just weren't able, or the Wardens rather, weren't able to rally. They weren't able to find their footing. They always had 1 Phoenix down. They always had 1 pick going into the Fire Giant. They were never able to group up as 5 and take a true even engagement. Got to give MVP of Game 2 to Chinfu.
Yeah, I think very handily, right? Very, very controlling. A lot of good fights for him. A lot of that, I mean, a majority of that game, to me, especially around those sieges, felt like Weavers have a lead. The Wardens prolonged their life. It never felt like they were in control. They prolonged their life, and they pushed us as far as they did. They did get Griff to full damage passive mode, but
We knew we were going to get there.
it did get one tapped, I think, at the very end. I did not see Griff get any damage out during that one. Unfortunately, falls apart there for the Wardens. Weavers tie things up. We'll see who can win this set right after this. Well, it's a tie set here in set number 3 of the day, and our first one of North America. It's Gore, it's Mifflin, and it is still the Wardens and the Weavers taking each other on, trying to figure out who will be able to find themselves I believe, if I remember correctly, first win in this one. What are you doing with the VHS now? Are you
Well,
trying to
just-
figure out what it was before?
Yeah, I mean, like, there's no way it's like Smite, right?
And that's the thing. So I was thinking about it. I'm pretty sure, based on how I remember VHS working,
I feel like
is that that's actually it said. You see how it says, "Please remember to rewind,"
I do. Yeah.
but all the tape is on the right hand side. I'm pretty sure it's not rewound.
Is that how it works? I thought that we had a broken
I
VHS.
can't remember which way they go,
Because, like,
but I'm
all
pretty
the
sure
tape's
that's
here.
not rewound. Yeah.
So, like, I can...
It's
I
no,
need a
like it
key?
literally is. Yeah, it just spins in one direction to pull the film from one side to the other.
Do I need a key for this? Like, how do I...
Yeah, if you get a VCR, they have a rewind button on them. I used to have one in my parents' house. So if you want to drive the 2 hours and see if they still have that, you can try. I doubt it's still there, personally. Oh, Jordan's bound to have something. Did you see that camera that we've been using for Smite Home Movies?
I did, yeah. I shot the first one.
Yeah, but it wasn't called Smite Home Movies when you did that.
Okay.
What you did was you did a Mifflin interview on that camera.
Let's talk about the game.
Let's talk. Okay. What happened this game?
Well, I was hoping you would talk
I've been talking about VHSs for a long time. It's your turn.
Well, I mean, this game I think had a bit more cohesion than game one, insofar as the pacing made sense. Both teams had late-game hyperscalers that really wanted to get their itemization before they got involved. So for the first 11 to 12 minutes, it was generally a slower pace. Once Chinfu got his crit, he started to get active on the map and continued to do things like this. Not often you could expect a Mercury to apply that amount of damage that quickly. Especially in a Phoenix Dive 1 versus 2. But as far as actual competitive Smite play goes, I think that this one is a much better indication, a much better representation of what you could get used to seeing if you were a first-time Smite game viewer. Game 2 made a whole lot more sense, but had similarities to Game 1 in that it was won by individual players. In Game 1, it was Sino and Moswall. Moswall sitting at 7-1 and Sino putting up like 15-6. In Game 2, it was Chinfu and Mando with very similar KDs.
I will give some credit to Sops. First off, 40,000 damage. Lots of numbers up there, but also his KDA was very solid on the Uul. So, I mean, you go back and you're looking at this, and a lot of the impact players, sans the Kabrakan, over the last couple of games, have been the bottom picks, right? Have been towards the end of the picks and bans. You get the Kabrakan first if you're the Weavers. Wardens, based on the screens behind us, I'm going to assume are now first pick for picks and bans for game number 3. And that's where things get a little more interesting, right? Because now we're, 3 deep. You've been banning Daji, Sylvanas, and Neath exclusively if you're the Wardens. The Weavers were only able to get one of those power picks because they were first pick. Last time they banned Yemoja, Khepri, Guan Yu, but the last time they were second pick, it was Yemoja, Guan Yu, Kabrakan. And so I have a feeling we'll probably see some similar 6 here. And if that's the case, Mifflin, I mean, where's your mind going if you're the Wardens? First pick for game 1 was Naja. Do you think you go back to something like that?
I don't see why not. I think Gino's been very impressive on that pick. The setup, I would never put a loss of a team fight at Gino's feet. He's made literally one play so far this entire set where I had scratched, and it was when he decided to re-engage on that right side tier 2 defense. Otherwise, Naja has been consistently finding high-priority targets with the Windfire wheels, has consistently been putting out damage that is outside of the range that you would expect from that style of build, which has been generally full support. So no complaints to me if the Wardens decide to go back towards that pick, and it's one that is solidly within the meta. So go ahead, do it yourselves. The Weavers, on the other hand, I mean, they're in a position where they could essentially just run back the exact same composition from Game 2, sans Kabrakan. Not many gods fit the exact same play style as Kabrakan of, hey, I'm going to walk in, I'm going to 100-0 somebody immediately. My win condition is that I get close to you. But they are able to at least take away one of the comfort picks from the Wardens. Maswell's going to have to dig a little bit deeper. First game this set, he's not playing the Vulcan.
Yeah, gonna have to change something up in those regards. The Naja, though, game 1, and with that Ymir locked in, does kind of start to shimmy it, at least towards the right-hand side of the map. Game 1 went to solo lane. And so the Wardens maybe just going for 3 players on 3 roles playing Naja. Could still be the option here, solo or jungle for him. Ishtar locked in alongside that Ymir, up against, as you mentioned, the Vulcan, and the Chernobog is locked in for the Weavers. How are you feeling about Ishtar? I think I asked you this earlier, but just like kind of doubling up on it.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion personally that I think Ishtar is pretty mid. I don't think she's the absolute strongest. The only ability in her kit that I think is like cream of the crop is the ultimate, which is potentially one of the best ultimates in any hunter's kits, full stop. The ability to toss it out, have that cripple field, and then come back with a stun, CC immunity as well, and how quickly it really does act is incredibly strong. Otherwise, when you evaluate what she does well in lane, it's the ability to clear wave with AoE auto attacks.
Yeah.
That lob shot really is the core of her kit for at least the first couple of levels. But compare her to other AoE auto attack gods. Izanami's got it constantly, out clears pretty consistently. Rom does the exact same thing and has a global ultimate. So it just feels like, as far as consistency is concerned, some of these other gods are doing what she does, just slightly better. Like even Rom, for example, if we really want to run with that analogy, when we talk about dashes, sure, neither one of them have a traditional leap, but Rom has an omnidirectional dash, whereas Ishtar kind of has to like aim it at you if she wants to go backwards, or just use it in a full 180. But also her dash can be blocked, whereas Rom's cannot. All you have to do is body block it against Ishtar. I think that she's got a home in the meta. I think that she certainly does some things well, but I don't think that she's a release that is going to dictate or even define the ADC meta.
Well, a few of these gods have made it through all 3 of these games and have been picked, all 3 of them. The Camazotz, the Kleena, the Naja, the Vulcan, as you had highlighted. All 4 hanging out in here. 3 of them assassins. And man, I don't know which way I'm leaning on this one. I guess we'll see. The Hercules lock-in was enticing to me, and I want to watch. Presumably, that one's going to be, nope, never mind. Forget everything I was about to say. In the jungle is where it's going. So I'll ask you about this. What can we expect from a Hercules jungle?
Well, from what I've seen personally from Chinfu, is that
Gangnam Style is the answer.
he's built a lot of crit Hercules jungle in ranked. Otherwise, Herc jungle is something that is not new. This is not a new thing by any stretch of the imagination. We've seen it here and there, just
Sino's probably played
ever so slightly in the meta at times. He's got a very strong gank. It's almost reminiscent of OG tier jungle in that I'm going to blink behind you, I'm going to push you into my team or push you into my tower. That's pretty strong. You've got really strong displacement, which I think is the hallmark of a good jungler. The ability to just apply CC on your own and then also have a good deal of damage to follow it up. When you look at Hercules' kit, besides his base stats, he really does seem like he's got all the chops you would need to be a jungle. I think the primary concern for it is, generally, for the most part, he's just better elsewhere because of his third ability. You want to be able to itemize a little bit more so towards defense. This Mando Warrior is soloed out for first blood. Relentless One takes the Naja away from Gino and looks pretty good on it.
Yeah, and look, they won game 1 with Relentless One on Naja. Might as well come back in game 2 and have some strength. You know, this is the same matchup. Last time it was against the Ratatosker, but this is one I expected him to go into. And Mifflin, as it turns out, he knows it pretty well. Is able to get that kill, and that's a pretty comfortable lead. Look, first blood already over here. Yeah, you got to be very careful. I think if you're both in this instant, it is still going to be both assassins standing, both feeling good about it, but one feeling a little better, and that's Relentless.
Yeah, Relentless One has the ability to just head back to base and spend up that gold. Sops doesn't have much left.
Yeah, a little bit of damage from the cleanup. Burn from the Merlin, and the range is there, and it's enough to get a second kill for the Wardens. Done messing around, and they're ready to start things off right.
Yeah, Chinfu unfortunately decides to use the combo in reverse order. It goes for the push, then the pull. Had he held on to Driving Strike to deal with the channeled ability from Sino or from Maswell, it is very likely that Sops would have made it out of there alive. Instead, tries to apply that damage very quickly. Lines up with Sino yet again in the jungle. Hercules wins this 1v1. That auto attack chain, just incredibly powerful. So Sino decides to just continually walk away, and there's not much Chinfu could really do about it.
Yeah, has to. Yeah, can't chase him down. You know, you use your CC for the most part. You could use your blink, but maybe an overinvestment wall just off the mark. Ishtar Dash locks up BSTJ, but not enough to be able to get the kill. So they were looking for 3 for 3, trying to make it 1 in each lane. Unfortunately for the Wardens, it's going to fall a little shy over in duo, but pressure nonetheless. And you kind of expect that with the Ishtar, just the clear that that's going to have alongside a Ymir. And it's a solid start. I mean, Sino getting an assist. You get your first blood over onto an assassin and right. You're now getting purple buff invades. It feels like the Wardens have really locked things up. Might be able to find something here.
I'm surprised they're running from this. They must be worried about the rotation.
Yeah, Chinfu is in the jungle, and so it must be worthwhile. Plus, you can see the Vulcan on that
Shotgun.
side. Shotgun blast, but not connecting too well. Gino trying to run away. Dash from Griff is good. There's the lockdown
Should
from
be dead.
Chinfu.
Good
There's
freeze.
a great freeze, but no turnaround. And maybe just a little slow on the rotation. Coming from Sino. Might need that help, though. As they stay, maybe overstay their welcome. Sino's here. Comes in. Good damage. Looks for the Hunter. Nice push from Chinfu. Keeps him engaged. Great
Yikes.
knock up from the support. And just like that, it's 2-2.
It's exactly what I was talking about this time around. They hold on to the CC. Sino starts his channeled ability, gets immediately punished for it as Chinfu gets aggressive. Griff loses the dash. That's the weakness I was talking about earlier. All you got to do is get right on top of him. It's almost like the same counterplay when you're playing against the Ymir. Just stand right on top of him. It's so hard to line up those abilities, and loses out on the beads as a unfortunate victim of circumstance there. So Griff now susceptible to the subsequent ganks. Clean play from the Weavers. Really like what we saw in that team fight. Sino so close to finding the dub that he was looking for. Had he just killed one, likely would have been able to turn around that entire engagement. But at the end of the day, when you look at the relics, that is a significant win over to the Anansi Weavers. And when you look at the gold and just the kills, I mean, it was just good across the board.
Yeah, they get a lot of dubs from that one. That has to feel solid for them. Although, I mean, you know, I guess it's chunking away that first blood, right? Like, still technically behind, but you got rid of the first blood bounty. Great wall from Gino. And maybe that's the conversation that needs to be had: is late game comps, how they're going to be impacted, things like that. Sino not able to quite get things online, but didn't have the Soul Leader there. Unfortunate if you're the Wardens to lose 2 in that moment. But you lost 2 nonetheless. Now it's how you deal with that early dip. Chinfu, however, on this Hercules in the jungle has been, I mean, refreshing, fun to watch so far. We'll see if that can continue up. Stolen Greater Scorpion by the Wardens. And just anything to try and manifest a larger gold lead on their side.
Chinfu is in a unique position as well, considering he's going to hit a power spike very, very soon. The second he finishes up that heavy mace, Chinfu is geared up and ready to get involved in the team fight, full stop. Whereas we've seen it twice now this set. Sino really needs to stack that Soul Eater before he's going to find the value in this kit. That item, very slow, has the most stacks in the game at 100, which means he's going to have to spend a significant amount of time really preparing. Whereas Chinfu, item purchased, should be Brawler's Beat Stick. Immediately, he's ready to go get active in the fight.
Yeah, Gino, I love how aggressive this support has been. But unfortunately, not going to have a lot of setup for him right there, at least in terms of locking things up. Also, really silent over on the right-hand side of the map since that first blood. The Naja actually kind of locked under the tower line as of right now, compared to what we're seeing out of Sino and what we're seeing out of the first 3 minutes from them. Now we're having to look towards the future. Oh man, what's this look you're giving me?
I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm waiting to see where you go with
where
this.
I'm going with this. Well, it was going to be about stacking items, and something you had mentioned the last couple of times. In fact, we might even still have time for that. Shards of Ice are used in mid. Not a lot of damage that's coming out for him.
You sure? It looked like a lot of damage.
Okay,
Sops is
let me
like
rephrase
almost
that.
dead.
A lot of damage, not a lot of kill potential.
Okay.
That's coming out of him. But you got 9 stacks there, 10 stacks on the Transcendence, 10 on the Thebes, and then 29.43. Feels like a long con for the Wardens. Maybe going to need to be a little longer. Relentless one. Blackthorn Hammer, all they have, trying to fight back. Good ring toss, good sash. Not enough damage between them and Sino. Be able to get something set up. Geno's here. Not going to be able to find anything to help the team out, though. That's going to be a disengage from the Weavers.
Yeah, don't think either team really has so significant an advantage going to the late game that we're so concerned about the pacing as of now. I am excited to see how this duo lane development continues. Diesel starting to slowly fall behind. Griff has a pretty good advantage over there, nearly an entire level lead on the Ishtar, who is a very strong lane bully. That is one of the strengths of Ishtar. She may not normally... Okay, I'm not loving the use of Shotgun Blast, but she isn't normally able to establish the lead on her own, but once she's got it, by nature of her ultimate being as aggressive as it is, she is one of the best hunters at leveraging that lead. Diesel's going to have to play very, very safe in this lane. But Griff, for the most part, has not been just throwing out that ultimate. So long as you connect with the first tick of it, you've found the value. The cripple applies off first tick, second tick gets that stun, and you can apply your damage very consistently from there. Likely would burn the beads as well, but because it is also one of Griff's best defensive tools, thanks to the CC immunity, might just be concerned about those rotations from Chinfu, so instead has been holding on to it, which means that you really can't leverage the lead that you've already established.
And not a lot of wiggle room over there. Speaking of leads, 100 gold separating these two teams right now. Wardens ever so slightly in their favor, and then when it comes down to experience, you've got a little bit there in mid made up for, a little bit on the other side. The Weavers specifically support having a small lead. So it is the bounce back. Nice invade coming out from Chinfu. This Hercules jungle, I was going to say it earlier. Pleasant surprise, I think, to me, right? Very different look in what the jungle can provide, and a different look at Hercules. But he's 1-0-1, and I kind of admire and enjoy, personally, just seeing what he can do for setup.
It's going to be a whole lot of walk in and punch, so get used to seeing it.
By the 30 minutes from now, it's going to be very one note. Speaking of one note, Big Slim Timmy Jim only knows one, and it's death at this point. 20 seconds gone in the grayscale. Could be a Gold Fury startup. Doesn't seem like they feel confident on the side of the Wardens in a 4v5. So they're going to back away from that one with the kill, lose their Greater Scorpion, maybe lose a little bit more. Nice little invades on the back camps from Chinfu. Just to open up that experience difference, and when it's 0-1 and 2 for Sino versus the 1-0-1, and now nice little level up from Chinfu. Feels like you've got a comfortable lead starting for some pretty considerable members of the Weavers.
Yeah, I am wondering what Chinfu is going to itemize towards. Could be that he does go down that bruiser path, just starts with the Brawler Speed Stick for the early game, and then that lead is going to be very nice. Otherwise, if he decides to go essentially full Assassin with his build, it's going to be pretty difficult to utilize it up against this composition from the Kaolin Wardens. The cripple from Griff makes it hard to use Driving Strike. If you are full damage, Relentless One's really going to be a thorn in your side, stopping that aggression. By nature of Hercules, you kind of need a little bit of defense to utilize the pull, wait a second, then punch.
Yeah.
Up against Najat's pull, I got stunned, so I missed my punch, so I'm curious. I would like to see him go in a little bit more so towards defense, would help out with that front line, especially considering Mando Warrior on this Camazotz hates going down that traditional defense tree. Instead, has been a whole lot of damage Blackthorn into what I can only assume is going to be a Transcendence. Otherwise, your initiation going to be completely contingent on Geb. And Blink Cataclysm's good, but you can only do it so many times.
Mando tries to get aggressive, does not steal away the blue buff, but is still hanging around the area. Geb rolls up. Maybe has to roll out again, because there's not too much to do in this scenario. Chinfu playing aggressive. I don't know what they're going to go for. Maybe some lockdown. There's the blink push right against the wall. Good body blocks and a nice knockback. Boulders there. But Geno's taking so much damage and walking away from it. Good knock up and a nice last hit from Mando. Make sure that they stay down and in the ground. Chinfu gets another push looking for Moswell, but now up into the air is the Hercules, and he's not coming back down. He's going into the ground instead. And it's a 1-for-1 trade. Support for jungle. The Wardens are going to be happy about this.
Yeah, Chinfu sticks around, goes into that tower to try and pull out Moswell. Does connect the Driving Strike, but Moswell, quick on those beads, is not pushed too far out of position, maintains his life, and turns around that engagement. Seems like both the Wardens and the Weavers have learned one thing from this set so far, and it's whoever gets aggressive first generally has continued to do so. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. So both of them vying and prodding and just positioning for a bit more aggression throughout the early game. First one to get a lead has generally just won the set, or the match rather, so far in this set. As of now, we're still at a state of parity. No lead developed between either of these teams. Individual leads between matchups, to be sure. Namely, it's that duo lane. Griff has really run with that early one-level lead and slowly extended it just by going through these neutral camps, has been controlling the Scepter, has been controlling that left side camp as well. And slowly, with no assistance from junglers on either side, Diesel has fallen behind.
Chinfu locked up, burned down. My God, nothing to retaliate there. Yeah, I'm thinking that level 12 mark might start looking like beads coming from the jungler. Gino in a little bit of trouble. And a lot of trouble. Gets chased down. Mando gets the kill. Relentless One trying to stay alive as best they can. Cataclysm good, and it locks him down. The CC solid. But they haven't gotten the kill just yet. It's going to go another 1-for-1. Sino picks up Diesel, even though they end up losing their solo laner. Sino has to stay alive. Can't close that gap or get away. Maswal has to run with his life. It's going to be a 3-for-2 trade, balancing out, but in favor of the Weavers.
Griff solos Diesel on the other side in the meanwhile, right? Or was just proxying those waves, rather, excuse me. You know, the only curious play I've seen so far is the fact that Maswal, maybe more so than any other Merlin that I've had the pleasure of watching on this desk, uses that fire stance.
Yeah, and consistently,
Like,
right?
it is a whole lot of fire stance. Generally, fire stance is relegated to just Gold Fury, just Pyromancer, Fire Giant, things along those lines. Otherwise, it's Arcane and Ice stance. Maswal has been constantly applying that damage, but it feels like he's taking a major DPS hit every time he goes into it.
And a weird reversal of fortune there. He was using the ice stance and the void stance against the Fury and not the fire stance. Maybe he's just got his his positions backwards. Oh man, Diesel, welcome back to lane, man. Gino, good wall, good freeze, good setup. Gets Griff the kill. So another one for the Wardens that they can add on. And Mifflin, when it gets this hectic, when the kills bounced up this even, Wardens were able to win in game number 1, despite the fact that the gold is not super in their favor. So I have to start leaning towards them, and unbridled chaos, they have an advantage. Maybe they'll be able to find an actual advantage here. Rollout's going to be good from the Geb. Clean disengage. Diesel's back in 5, so they'll probably back off of that tier 2 on left. And with the Pyromancer going down alongside and being traded against the Fury, kind of feels like we end up in the same spot. What is it, 1,200-ish gold between these two teams, maybe 1,300 on a good wave, or chunked down even lower when they have it in the right spot. And instead, it's this conversation about, and back to game number 1, early Fire Giants. Can one of these teams, I mean, when I see a Merlin, I think burn. When I see the Vulcan, I think secure. So it feels like no matter what, each team has something going for them to try and sneak it.
I would have said the Kaolin Wardens have got a significant advantage going into Fire Giant and subsequent objectives because of Ishtar and how well she utilizes crit. That Shotgun Blast doesn't apply in-hand effects, but it does apply crit. But instead it's Kin Size in that second slot as Mando dives deep into this tower. Would love to shut down Relentless One, who is completely now. Maybe enough for just the sash, but out of range. So Mando able to work his way out of there. Meanwhile, Chinfu refuses to come up empty-handed. Is able to take away that blue buff in exchange. But at what cost?
Yeah, that's the question so far. The cost might actually just be a kill on top of it. There's going to be the boulder. Good shield from the Geb. Gets him out of their wall from the Ymir. Make sure Chinfu can't escape. Chinfu might be okay with that, though, right? Tries to find the lockup. Is unable to get the lockdown or the chase down for Gino. So they fall back. They keep it safe. Meanwhile, Griff, I actually like this a lot more than what we saw in the Chronos. Instead of coming over and whiffing abilities for 45 seconds, take a
Leave
tower.
him alone.
And look, hey, I'm saying it's a positive. I like this positioning. I think better. Their team's not losing fights. If anything, they're fine. And you get to an interesting spot. I am having flashbacks, though. If you remember way back when, and for those of you who've been tuning in all day, this is a good shout-out for you as well. Ishtar locked in game number 1 today by the Ferryman. Similar build to what we're seeing. I think the next item they had picked up was the Odysseus' bow. And Griff, maybe a little bit of extra gold to be able to afford that kill. onto Mando Warrior. Should be able to lock down the Geb here. Someone's got to have the last little bit of damage. There it is from Moswall.
Fire stance again.
Fire stance again. Well, we saw that Ishtar with a similar build, but at the time it was against one tank. This time, at least, you've got some people building tanky on the other side to burn through. The damage seems to be helpful. Sino kills off Diesel. Griff is trying to figure out the right balance between trying to go for the tier 1, trying to help the team. Seems they're going to have to back out over there, but a lot of clean kills from the Wardens in just a matter of a few minutes.
It has been. The Wardens had a major swing there. That's about a 3,000, maybe a 2,000 gold swing in their favor. Experience maybe the more important of the two and could be pushed even further. Griff was able to force the defensive teleport from Mando Warrior onto this tier 2. Won't stick around though, and instead will likely just let the minions deal with it. But yeah, I am surprised again that we do see this Ishtar build. I just feel like crit would go a long way.
Unfortunately, it's not going to be what you get. It is the Odysseus' bow that's going to be picked up. Eventually, it's on the charged bow right now. So you get the passive, not quite as strong for him.
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It's a standard tank shred build. With Odysseus bow, it does apply, AoE damage in the team fight. Sure. But Shotgun Blast doesn't get you additional in-hand auto procs, right? So you're still going to have to land however many shots Odysseus bow requires. You're still going to have to land the 3 shots for Executioner. It's not as if like you get close and the 1 from Shotgun is going to do it for you.
Yeah.
But with crit, especially against a composition like this from the Weavers, which has gone essentially full squish, barring Big Slim, Timmy, Jim, it just feels like crit would have found a whole lot more value.
Well, we'll see. I was going to ask specifically, and this is always where things get muddled. I'm pretty sure shields in Smite, because they're separate, but they're also just extra health most of the time. So does that help with this build? Like, does that make you feel a little bit better knowing that you can deal with it? We'll have to hold that thought. The Wardens get the Gold Fury, but can they get out? Gino rolled down and burned by the Weavers. And it seems like that's going to be enough for the Wardens to want the full disengage support for Gold Fury. Still feels worthwhile for the Wardens, as long as they don't do anything too crazy. And so they get a successful Fury, and theoretically a successful fight afterward. We'll have to hold that. Moswall pushed up against the tower, taking a lot of damage in the process. Boulder is good and gets the kill. They did burn down Mando Warrior in the process. They burned down Chinfu in the process. It's a double for Sino. And that's going to be the rest of the Weavers falling back.
Yeah, meanwhile, Griff, who has been whittling away at that tower, will continue to attempt to do so. Just 1 or 2 more auto attacks would be all it takes to finish that one off, especially if he's able to find a 1v1 up against Diesel. Itemization just favoring the Ishtar, level lead just favoring the Ishtar. No way Diesel wants to take this exchange, but will at least be able to keep that tier 2 tower afloat. Can't say the same about Pyromancer on the other side. Should be dealt with handily by the 3-man core of the Kaolin Wardens. The Anansi Weavers have finally started to fall behind here. The Kaolin Wardens, through a multitude of neutral objectives, a multitude of team fights, 20 kills in as many minutes so far this game, have separated themselves. And now with that tier 1 on its last leg, a stray auto attack, a stray breeze knocks that one over. Tier 2 on left in the exact same position. Could be an opportunity to start looking towards that Fire Giant. Although it is not crit, Ishtar still is a standard hunter, so should be able to apply pretty decent DPS, especially with this lead to the neutral objective. Merlin, one of the best mages in the game, and actually just burning that objective as well. But the concern is, and as you've stated earlier, Sops on the other side has got best confirmation. Earthshaker from a distance can really, really change up this game. And the front line of the Kaolin Wardens is not exactly adept at dealing with it.
Mando, whew, lucky that ult was up, because he's able to escape. So far with their life, seems like they're going to be able to get out of there pretty fine. I was wondering if a ring toss was going to stray back there. Maybe bounce off Chinfu and unfortunately find the Camazotz. And Mifflin, in a moment like this, the KO is not necessary. You get the TKO, you got the burn from the Merlin, but you got to be able to secure it. If you're there, the Warden's able to narrowly get that Fire Giant, and now it's walking out with their lives. Griff takes a little bit too much damage here halfway and is trying to stay alive. The shots are good, but not good enough to find the kill just yet from Diesel, who now finds themselves surrounded by 2, locked against the wall. Good kills, good autos. Sino's going to be able to pick that one up. Now, surging forward, Gino.
wall.
Locks him off, keeps him in the fight. Nice
Double
sash
slow.
as well. Great meatball, but it is not enough for the peel. Up into the air goes Relentless One and comes crashing back down into the waiting arms of the team.
Yikes.
4 gone on the Weavers. And now with 5 strong and Fire Giant, you have to assume they can barrel down mid. You mentioned it, this tower, virtually no health. They got plenty of time to work with to get a Phoenix.
Sino wins this 1v1 potentially. They can at least desync the death and stop that back. Should open the door for an easy Phoenix Siege for the rest of the team. It's a bit more even than I thought it would be. Chinfu tries to work his way out of there. Shield of Regrowth gives him that speed boost, but not enough. Sino shuts him down and completes the deicide. Diesel respawning in 2 seconds, just in time to watch his Phoenix fall down. The Kaolin Wardens, in one fell swoop, off the back of a Fire Giant power play, are able to take the entirety of the map. Potentially another tier 2 tower on that left-hand side. That's a whole lot of gold in pocket to be spent. An entire item just about for every individual member of the Wardens. The Weavers have got their work cut out for them.
The backs channeled. There's a wall. Gino maybe not feeling as confident as the other 2 members of his team. So falls back the old-fashioned way. And unfortunately, it might be even more old-fashioned if he doesn't get out of here soon. Might just be a kill. But no, is looking to charge up the obelisk. And we're going to look at these items as they get built, because you had mentioned it, but it's going to essentially be almost full items. You get a tier 2 coming out, plus the upgraded starter there for Moswall. And that's really the big gap, right? The level 20 is now on the side of the Wardens versus 17 and 18 that they're matching up in the jungle and the carry role specifically there for the Weavers. Means that that's honestly a pretty significant power spike in favor of the Wardens.
But the Weavers might be able to equalize that power spike with a pretty wild gank attempt on the right-hand side. You just gotta imagine the Kaolin Wardens aren't going right. Generally, Fire Giant on 5 in a position like this, you just group up on left and try and take out that Phoenix. Maybe the Weavers hedging their bet saying, hey, at least one of them is going to be lurking in the jungle. Simply not the case this time, so they all head back to base together. Kaolin Wardens starting to slowly work their way through the map. Good deal of caution here from the Wardens. Don't have vision on any of the Weavers. Want to figure out where they are. Don't want to be the ones that get caught out.
17-8 for the kills. Wardens really picked up the pace from an earlier tied game. 12,000 gold separating them. Left side Phoenix is the target. Mid Phoenix is already gone. Keeping my eyes on Sino. Walks just straight through the wall looking for damage. Great wall thrown out once again by Gino. They're going to isolate, take up Big Slim Timmy Jim, take him down. Get a kill to open this one up. Phoenix now going to be under siege, and immediately they walk forward, delete Chinfu. It's a 3v5, and they do not care about the bird. They want the kills, and they are finding them. Diesel is gone. Mando is low, taken out alongside Diesel. It's a full-on deicide. It's a triple for Moswall, and it's the set for the Wardens.
Man, the Wardens, and every single game this set feels like it's almost been dictated by one individual moment, one massive swing that completely opens up the game for whichever side won. With the Weavers, it was around that right side team fight. For the Kaolin Wardens, it was around that attempted speed buff invade, and this time around it was one massive team fight around the Fire Giant once more that really just decimates that game. Clean play either way.
Yeah.
I really liked what we saw when they were actually focused up, playing as a 5-man core. The utilization of those Ymir walls was masterful. The Naja initiations, as well as the First Bloods consistently out of the soul lane.
Yeah.
A very good way to start up that match as well. But you got to give shouts to Moswall. In both wins, a consistent KD, 7-1 both times.
Yeah, really, really solid play coming down from Moswall. 7-2 and 8 there for Sino. 3-1, the 12 and the 11 in the assist column for Relentless One and Gino, respectively, are very solid. And then, of course, just the 5-0 and 7 Undying game. Griff plays it safe and gets a lot of damage out there towards the late game, 20,000. Third on the team, but higher than everybody on the other side because of the damage they were able to do. 23K coming up from Sino. And Relentless One hovering right around the 22 mark. So really solid plays, and you can tell where the damage was dealt, where the CC was being dealt, and the plays were being opened there on the side of the Wardens to make sure that things went their way. And now Mifflin, they get their first win overall of the phase, which is a good thing to do in week number 3. Unfortunately for the Weavers, it does mean they're still looking for theirs. But if you're the Wardens here, I mean, I would argue maybe a necessary turnaround based on how things are going, the players, and kind of what we expect out of them. It is a really good start to maybe a potential comfortable end to the phase.
Yeah, rectify some of the wrongs that we had seen in the first 2 weeks of the phase so far. The Kaolin Wardens find themselves in a position where they play their unique compositions and unique pacings, but it works out for them and has continued to do so over the entirety of this year. I am curious, though, when both of these teams play very unique styles. I'd love to see how they line up against standard meta selections when you don't have to worry about the Sylvanas jungle and ban that every game, when you don't have to play against things like the Hercules jungle, triple, quadruple assassin matchups on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
How does this look when you're playing against standard compositions that everybody else is playing? Well, so far this phase hasn't looked so great, but maybe they've developed to a point now where they can feel confident in their own style of play and their own style of composition.
Well, the Wardens, again, take down the Weavers 2-1 here, find themselves their first win. The Hounds and the Storm is what is going to be coming up next. And then tomorrow morning, for those of you who want to catch all of North America, right before SBL kicks off, the Sages will be taking on the Tanuki. The Hounds and the Storm are the ones that we're going to be watching next. And if you look at where they are, Hounds and Storm, both still undefeated. Kaolin Wardens put themselves on the list of teams with a win. Unfortunately for the Weavers, that means they are the only team, the goose egg, in the win column. But right now, Mifflin, you know, Tanuki Sages, that's going to be something. Both of them even tied 1-1. I think it's the battle of the undefeated here for set number 4 that I think is enticing me currently.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this one, just to figure out, with the year kind of pacing as it is, as we start to rapidly approach Worlds, all these SEC teams are still vying for position to play on that World stage, so seeding absolutely matters in this phase. Starting off 2-0 and sending one of you to 3-0 and one of you back down to 2-1 to match up with the rest of the pack has massive implications for the rest of this year.
Yeah, and that's the important part. Again, Road to Worlds, that kind of entire conversation. Standings are important for the SCC squads. We'll see who can take out first, though. Before we can get there, we're going to kick it to a quick break, and when we get back, we have got the battle at the top.